encourage the team which is going to mark the history today, create the history today by landing, making a safe landing on the southern pole of moon. चंद्रायन पे तिरंगा लहरा दो.
इंडिया वाले अपना है दिन ये आज का, दुनिया से जाके बोल दो, बोल दो, ऐसे जागो रे साथियों, दुनिया की आंखें खोल दो, खोल दो, लहरा दो, चंद्रमा पे तिरंगा लहरा दो.
ठीक है.
I want to go across to Nabila, who's at the Nehru Planetarium in the national capital as well. Nabila, 20 minutes to go for all the action to start with the landing sequence. What's the atmosphere at the famous Nehru Planetarium in Delhi?
Well, right, I'm at the Nehru Planetarium, Shiv, and I'd like to focus a little on these installations that have been placed here. Of course, a bunch of enthusiastic space enthusiasts who are joining me right here. This is the installation that's to welcome the people who are coming into the planetarium to watch the Chandrayaan-3 successful mission. The Vikram lander in barely about 1 hour's time is going to be landing on the moon, and this is what's actually catching attention of people who are coming in. These are the kids here. If I may get a word from them, he's a budding scientist. That's what he wants to be. Today is a momentous day for India. You're here at the planetarium. What are you hoping to watch?
I am hoping to watch a great landing call by the rover today. And I hope India has many more successful missions like the one today, which we all hope for.
What's going to be the challenges in your view? Of course, our prayers are that it is a success, but what are the delicacies?
Okay, basically, some of the sensors could fail, the propulsion systems could stop working well. There could be a lot of challenges we could face, but our scientists are really clever. And
scientists are really clever. You know, that's the hope that a bunch of them have. What do you think? So 5 decades, Shiv, 5 decades that countries across the globe have been attempting on a moon mission. Many of them, in fact, Russia attempted it 27 times, successful only 7 times. India's 3rd mission, and we're super confident.
We landed for the first time on the moon.
Absolutely, found water on the moon.
We landed on the first time with the Mars when no other country could, and we'll do the same on the moon.
We'll do the same on the moon. This is a quick look at the Chandrayaan-3, and these are installations. If I can ask my camera to give a quick pan of what the Nehru Stadium here in Delhi, Nehru Planetarium looks like. This is all the media frenzy here. Of course, Shiv, I'm also being told that people from the Supreme Court, some of the advocates, maybe some judges are also going to come by at the planetarium to have a good close look at the Chandrayaan-3 landing. It's all relayed live right here. Screens that have been put across. National capital is, of course, buzzing, and the mood is surely upbeat.
Nabila, thanks very much for that. We're going to come back to you in a short while. I'm sure the celebrations are going to explode even more once the landing is complete. But I want to go across to Akshita Nandagopal, who's at the Isro viewing center in Bengaluru, where all the action is. We have a lot of experts from the space industry with us. Naveen Sharma from Spark Astronomy. Will be going to him in just a moment. We've got more guests joining us for the final stretch of our coverage here on India Today. But I want to go across to Akshita first, because she's at the epicenter of this incredible piece of history. Akshita, it's 5 p.m., 20 minutes to go now for the landing sequence to be initiated. 5:20 is when the live telemetry data is going to start streaming in on that lovely screen behind you.
That's right, Shiv, and I can tell you that right now they've started all preparations, clearing up any sort of chairs and all the lights that were put up on the stage, all of that being cleared, because the live streaming will begin here, and we're going to be getting you those updates. As soon as it starts, we'll be beaming it live for our viewers as well, because, you'll be able to see live how scientists are reacting. You'll be able to see what really they're doing to track very closely the movement of Chandrayaan-3. I can't believe that the moment has arrived, Shiv, because we've been counting down to this moment for so long now. We're just about 20 minutes away from Chandrayaan-3 actually starting its process of touching down on the south pole of the moon. Through the day, we've had so many interesting discussions about what this will mean for the Indian space story, what this really means as far as moon exploration is concerned, What's the next step for ISRO? Why the South Pole of Moon? We'll get all of those answers and, of course, much, much more to, post 6:04. Just a reminder, 5:20, while you'll be watching it live, Prime Minister Modi, last time around a few years ago, was here personally to be with the ISRO team. Unfortunately, this time, because of the BRICS summit, he's not here, but we're being told he will be tracking every update virtually. He's going to be with the ISRO team during that nail-biting moment when the landing happens. So 5:20, you'll also see the Prime Minister tuning in on behalf of an entire grateful nation to congratulate the ISRO scientists, to be with them at a very, very anxious time, as Mr. Sivan told you. You know, we've been talking about how cool, calm, collected they look, but I'm sure within them there are whispers of anxiety, there are whispers of what if. But with these scientists and the kind of work that they've done, emotions obviously running high, we can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait, Shiv. 6:04 is when the landing will be completed. 5:45 is when that 15 minutes of terror, which we've been speaking about in such great detail, will actually begin.
Just to remind all of our viewers, Akshita, stay with me. 18 minutes to go for the landing sequence to be initiated. Nerves now at fever pitch. India on the cusp of history. Whichever way this goes, it's going to be a successful mission. There's going to be a soft landing in less than an hour from now. 5:03, 6:04 p.m. is the scheduled moment of touchdown on the lunar surface. And therefore, in just about 17 minutes from now, the landing sequence will be initiated. It takes 44 minutes for everything to be completed before the Vikram lander comes touching down. Joining me live, let's get a quick perspective now. We're always bolstering our coverage here with the best perspectives by stakeholders, those who've tracked India's space program for a long time, and those who are part of India's space ecosystem. I'm joined now by Naveen Sharma. He is the founder of Spark Astronomy, which is a very well-known startup in the country. But I quickly want to first get, Naveen, first I will go to Raj Chengappa, who is our group editorial director and someone who has tracked ISRO, India's space program, the details of India's trysts with space for many, many years together, written many seminal articles about it as well. Mr. Chengappa, thank you so much for your time here. What an exciting day. You know, we're standing here now 15 minutes from that landing sequence, actually starting. I imagine you've actually been in some of those control rooms. Yes. What will it be like inside there right now?
Well, you know, Shiv, you were with me last year.
Yeah,
last
year.
2019,
yeah.
Let's put it. Like it's 4 years since we watched Chandrayaan-3, and of course, disappointingly, the result didn't come up to our expectations. But the fact is, I think there is a lot more confidence I find in the rooms. I mean, I was speaking to Chairman of ISRO the other day, just day before yesterday. And what came through was that they have learned from that failure. And what they have built in is a lot of redundancies that are there. So if the propulsion system, which is what went wrong, you know, we were watching live at that time, and suddenly the spacecraft started disorienting itself.
Yeah.
And we thought this was part of the movement till we realized that they'd lost contact. Now, what was the reason? There was apparently an additional thrust. So what they've done in those, they've got 4 major thrusters that are there, apart from 8 control units, attitude and altitude controls. Now, among those 4, there was a malfunctioning happening. So what they've done is they have actually tested all these again. These are all space validated before, and made sure that a valve, the slosh, even the liquid in that, made it sluggish, so that it would start not overreact or go beyond the parameters. So if you look at the planning that they've done, I'm just giving you one example of the kind of testing that they've done in the last 4 years to ensure that every component. What they've also done is, but what they've realized is that they, the error calculations that we're building. Now, when we start getting initiated, right now, of course, you'll have that. When they get the exact point, the countdown sort of begins. But it's really that 18 minutes that is going to be critical. Now, in the first 11 minutes of that, what they didn't do was that they didn't have instantaneous correction. So if there was an error building, it waited for what was called the camera coastal phase. The coast phase. Which is the attitude
which time
phase.
it would be too late.
By that time, that algorithm that was built into that software was not available for them. So you see, so what they're doing now is that they're doing instantaneous correction. And I think the most interesting thing is at each stage they've built this kind of double checks. Let's sum up the thing this way. And this is what Dr. Somnath said. In Chandrayaan-2, they worked on what is called a success-oriented thing. Everything will go well and work the parameters. in Chandrayaan-3, they worked on a failure-based model, which is everything that could go wrong, they tested and made sure that they had redundancies.
Redundancies in every respect.
Right to the last, which is they have a hazard camera. The hazard detection. So if there's a boulder there and it's come out there, they've got an alternative landing space to move. So I think that's what gives the sort of confidence that this time, we would see a successful landing.
Very interesting, very interesting. Live images, by the way, of Dr. Jitendra Singh, Minister of Science and Technology, in the Isro viewing gallery in Delhi. Remember, there are Isro viewing galleries in different parts of the country. The main one, of course, is in Bengaluru, where India Today's team is there. Jitendra Singh is the Minister of Science and Tech in the Modi government. He's at the Isro viewing gallery here in Delhi. I want to quickly bring Naveen also in on this. Naveen, what does today mean for guys like you? You're part of the space ecosystem, so much to achieve, so many youngsters in ISRO. You've also got skin in the game as far as what India can achieve from space programs of this kind. What's going through your mind right now? 10 minutes to go for the landing sequence to initiate.
Yes, it's just 10 minutes away, and we are so excited for this movement. So, and what sir was talking about, like Dr. Somnath mentioned, in Chandrayaan-2, there was a lot of failures. And this time we are learning from failures, and we have double-checked everything, right from all the phases and all. And for education, if I talk about, like earlier, nobody was known about ISRO and all this. Everybody was talking about NASA. But now ISRO has set up something different, and it's on the top of the world. The first country who is going on to the South Pole, and we have so much to talk about. Now people know about, and everybody know about ISRO. So that's going to be a new feature.
It's going to be a new feature, and ISRO is one of the most well-regarded space organizations in the world. The cost effectiveness of a space program of this kind is unparalleled, and I don't use that phrase lightly, because even if you look at the numbers, and we've been putting those numbers on our screen all day today, the budget for the Chandrayaan-3 program is less than the budget used for the film Interstellar. People have been saying that all day today, but what a lovely factoid. An actual space program cheaper than a Hollywood movie. I think nothing could be a greater tribute to the economies, the cost effectiveness that ISRO has brought to a world-class mission, which is the pride of the country and the admiration of the world. I also want to remind you that while Dr. Jitendra Singh, the Union Minister for Science and Technology, is watching the live proceedings from Delhi, India's Prime Minister is in Johannesburg, remember, for the BRICS Summit. And he, we are told, is going to be watching all the live data, the telemetry data, the first visuals that come in. He's going to have a screen there in Johannesburg as well. I don't know yet if we're going to, get to see the Prime Minister watching. Hopefully, maybe they'll send us a picture or two from the Prime Minister's office to share with all of our viewers. But remember, the Prime Minister was there in 2019 when Raj sir and I were in Bengaluru, that famous moment where he had hugged K. Sivan, the then ISRO chief as well. We spoke to the ex-ISRO chief, and he's full of confidence this time. Many of the things that Mr. Chengappa just said, he also echoed. But lots of reactions coming in. We're standing at 5:10 now. 10 minutes to go for that landing sequence to kick off. Lots of reactions coming in. Many celebrities also taking time out to tell us what they have on their minds right now and to wish Chandrayaan well. Listen in.
अभी मैं अपने घर पे पूजा कर रहा हूँ और भगवान जी सामने हैं. ये देखिए, ये मेरा मंदिर है. और ये पूजा आज की जो है, ये चंद्रयान की सेफ लैंडिंग के लिए है. और मैं सभी भारतवासियों को अभी से ही शुभकामनाएं देना चाहता हूं और बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि आज 6:04 पर भारत इतिहास रचेगा और हमारा जो चंद्रयान-3 है वो मून पर के साउथ उस तरफ लैंड करेगा.
For India and a proud moment for each and every Indian. The kind of you feel that pride in your heart, and as an Indian, all of us, I think, right now, we're waiting to watch it. A lot of people are going to be glued watching it, and I'm going to be doing that with my boys as well, with bated breath.
We would perhaps be the first to reach there, and I understand that the world might not acknowledge this, but every Indian in his heart or her heart knows that this is a very, very great achievement, and even if we don't achieve it, that's perfectly fine. I think the attempt that we have made is stupendous. Nobody has gotten so close, especially on the dark side of the moon. We've got pictures of the dark side of the moon for the first time. So I think it's a tremendous achievement, and we are all elated, proud of whatever you have achieved, ISRO. And may God be with you. May the moon be with you.
These are great moments. We always keep talking about sports, but these are also tremendous achievements for the country. So wish them all the best.
मुझे इस बात की बहुत खुशी है, सब भारतवासियों को खुशी है कि आज हमारा विक्रम लैंडर जो स्पेस क्राफ्ट है वो चांद से बिल्कुल 100 किलोमीटर के आसपास दूर है और ये एक बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है हमारे भारत की, पूरे विश्व के लिए, पूरे यूनिवर्स के लिए, पूरी ह्यूमैनिटी के लिए। और मैं सबको मुबारकबाद देता हूँ, इसरो के चेयरमैन साहब को और उनकी पूरी टीम को।
Well, it's a historic moment for us, for every Indian, and I feel so proud that Chandrayaan-3 is going to be landing today. I cannot wait to actually go back home and watch the whole landing. You know, I think 5:20 p.m. and it's landing around 6:04, and we're like all set. We're going to be like sitting there waiting for Chandrayaan-3 to land.
Okay, breaking news coming in. The Chandrayaan lander is in its final orbit now. 30 minutes to go for the final landing sequence to begin. The initial landing phase has begun. The Chandrayaan landing phase begins at 5:44 p.m. That is final approach and descent. The Chandrayaan lander, Vikram, is now officially in final orbit around the moon. It is from this orbit that its attitude will change and it will begin a vertical descent towards the lunar surface. So everything is locked and loaded now. There's very little turning back, and there is no need because the team is exuding confidence right now. Everything is smooth sailing, the words used by ISRO to describe all the circumstances that have presented themselves so far. Okay. Akshita is with us from the viewing gallery at the ISRO headquarters in Bengaluru, where all that data is going to be coming in just a few minutes from now. 6 minutes to go, Akshita, when when hopefully we'll see those telemetric depictions of Vikram's status on that screen behind you. But currently can confirm the latest that you're bringing to us. Final orbit has been entered. Very, very shortly, the position, the direction of Vikram will change for that final descent.
That's right, Shiv. 6 minutes. 6 minutes to go for the live telecast to begin. And that means exactly 30 minutes to go for the landing, for the descent to actually begin. ISRO is stuck to 5:44 p.m. being the time. And yes, this is the last round around the moon. It's been on an elliptical orbit, lander Vikram on his own since the separation a few days back. And so this is the last elliptical orbit that he is on. And then he'll get closer to that spot that they've identified as the touchdown point on the south pole of the moon. The descent will begin at 5:44 p.m. Shiv. 5:44 p.m. all the way to 6:04 p.m. That's the entire duration of the moment that will make or break the Chandrayaan-3 mission, that will decide whether it's a spectacular 100% success and whether we finally, India, has a mark on the moon. So it's getting very, very exciting now. ISRO clearly at this point confirming with all of the news breaks that we're getting at this point that everything's on track and they're sticking perfectly to the schedule. Raj did make a point about what went wrong with Chandrayaan-2. All of that, of course, has been factored in as he gave us great detail as well. And remember that Chandrayaan-2 also, it was in the second phase of that 50 minutes of terror, which has 4 phases of descent, where things did go a bit awry. That's something that this time around they've taken care of. So hopefully we'll see all 4 stages completed. And in less than 1 hour from now, we should have that good news.
We'll be having that good news right now. And I have more good news. We're really privileged, Akshita. I'm going to come back to you in just a moment to be joined now by Mallika Sarabhai. She is the daughter of the famous Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the person who is widely regarded as the father of India's space program, one of the greatest original icons of India's tryst with space. Mallika ji, a true privilege. Thank you for your time and thank you for joining us live here on India Today. It's wonderful to see you. We are all so proud of you, of your family, of your father. Everyone remembers him on days like this. How does it feel? I know the pride you must feel every single day, Mallika ji, but is it especially so on a day like this? It was Vikram Sarabhai's work, blood, sweat and tears over decades that has resulted in India being able to celebrate a day like this?
I today keep going back to that little 9-year-old girl who used to share this dream with Papa, and he would share it with the family, and he had a twinkle in his eye every time he used to talk about what the science can do and what space technology can do. And as a little girl, I used to always be asking him, why are you doing this? Is it to go to the moon? Is it to go to the stars? And he kept saying to me, no, it's to get us the information that can actually change this country. We're a very poor country and we need technology. We can't take 100 years to get there. And I'm sure that space research will take us there immediately. So I keep thinking of those conversations of us sitting on the carpet in our home and Papa in a kurta pajama and the twinkle in his eye and that particular very mischievous smile on his lips. And that's really where it takes me to today. Papa's dream has been fulfilled by hundreds and thousands of scientists in Isro working every day. People talk of prayers. This is not about prayers. This is about such dedicated hard work and taking every failure as one more step towards how you can get closer. I am keeping my fingers crossed and my heart, like the rest of the nation, beats, and I'm just hoping that things will go as they should. I'm also prepared that perhaps they won't, and then that'll be just one more step towards the next stage.
Yeah. Very, very true and well said, Mallika ji. This is something that all Indians need to hear because you, as being the daughter of Vikram Sarabhai, know that the life of space scientists reaching into the unknown is fraught with the dangers of the unexpected. We are hoping for a complete success this time. In fact, as we speak to you, Mallika ji, we're getting a live feed, the first live feed of data from the from the Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft, from the Vikram lander itself. What were days like this like, Mallika ji? You've seen many days like this because Vikram Sarabhai would have spent many days of criticality for India's space programs. What was he like on days like this? What would it have been like for him if he were around today?
He was always extremely calm, but he had this totally boyish excitement at the possibility of what would happen.
Yeah.
But if it didn't happen, he was not somebody to be crestfallen at all. He would, on the contrary, give courage to the rest of the team and say, come on, next step. Let's get it. We know now what went wrong and we know how to make it better. And I think it is that buoyancy that remains with me through every failure of mine as well, saying that there's always the possibility that we can make it right. And I think he would have been a mixture of being very calm, very excited, very concentrated and focused, and very much carrying his team with him. I think that was of greatest importance to him, that it wasn't him, it was his team.
Mallika ji, as we speak to you, we're getting this incredible live feed of data, and it's actually a privilege to be breaking this news to our viewers while we have Vikram Sarabhai's daughter live on this broadcast. The lander is going to descend now, Mallika ji, from 30 kilometers to 7 kilometers. As a matter of fact, the deceleration has begun. Those nail-biting details are being brought to our viewers live now from that data that is being beamed back from the Vikram lander, straight to the telemetry centers there. All of these are words that you're completely familiar with as the daughter of Vikram Sarabhai. So, I'm not going to, spend more time going into that. But I do want to ask you, Mallika ji, as a final question, your words for students and the young out there. We've seen this incredible outpouring of celebration, public participation, puja, namaz, prayers for the Chandrayaan team today. What do you make of that as we bring our viewers this breaking news?
हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत करता हूं।
For some good news that can unite the country that is extremely divided and fragmented today, that something like this is not only a step for India, it's a step for humanity.
Yeah.
It's a step for the spirit of human beings. And I think that is where we need to concentrate. If you ask me what I say to young people, I say that science has the power of magic in transforming lives. Don't depend on the powers that we don't depend on institutions. You can be an engineer and create something that will transform lives. You can be a scientist and bring something forward that will transform lives. That is what we need to do today to heal this world.
Malika ji, thank you very much for joining us. Always a privilege to hear from you. We salute you. We salute your father on a day like this and your family. We're going across live now to the ISRO Center.
चंद्रमा के साउथ पोल पे सेफ और सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करेगा। आपको ध्यान दिला दूं, इस समय हम लोग पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने से लगभग 22 मिनट दूर हैं। जो दर्शक थोड़ी देर से जुड़े हैं उनकी जानकारी के लिए बता दें, आप लोग इस ऐतिहासिक पल को इसरो के ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट, फेसबुक, ट्विटर और यूट्यूब पे भी देख सकते हैं।
Honorable dignitaries, delegates, scientists, media personnel, and dear viewers, a very good evening to all of you. We at ISRO welcome you to the live coverage of India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 mission's landing event on the lunar surface. These are the visuals from Mission Operation Complex at ISRO's Telemetry Tracking and Command Network, ISTRAC, situated in Namma, Bengaluru, Karnataka. I, Arushi Seth, and my colleague, Dr. Padamdeo Mishra, are your hosts for the evening and shall accompany you on the journey of the landing event from powered descent start to touchdown. Today, we shall be witnessing the final phase of the critical and most technologically challenging mission operations of Chandrayaan-3, wherein the lander module will be making a safe and soft landing on the surface of the moon. These display screens show the countdown to the power descent start as well as the path that will be followed by the lander module. We are 18 minutes away from the commencement of power descent. India is at the brink of creating history as we all await with bated breath to witness the landing on Moon's south polar region.
A sense of quiet calm descends on the control center. There's going to be very, very spare commentary coming in from there. Noise levels are going to be kept to a minimum as we now await the latest live information streaming in from the, from the Vikram lander. Obviously, it's not going to be live video information because there will be a lag before, imagery and video footage actually comes in, if any, and when ISRO chooses to actually put it out. But telemetric data will be displayed on the screen for people to understand where things are at and what the status is. In fact, I want to bring Raj Chingappa back in. Okay, okay, we'll just go back to this and I'll come back to our guest.
किया जा रहा हो। इसरो मिशन की निश्चितता और अनिश्चितता के बीच बहुत ही महीन अंतर होता है, जिससे कि एक मिशन सफल या असफल होता है। लेकिन ना हम थके ना हम हारे। हमने पिछली कमियों को सुधारते हुए आज पूरी तरह से आश्वस्त किया है कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल निश्चित तौर पे चंद्रमा के सतह पर सेफ और सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करेगा। सभी दर्शकों के जानकारी के लिए अब हम इसरो के अब तक के सभी लूनर मिशंस को संक्षिप्त विवरण प्रस्तुत करेंगे। जी हां, इसरो का पहला मून मिशन चंद्रयान-1 अक्टूबर 2008 में PSLV रॉकेट के द्वारा सफलतापूर्वक प्रक्षेपित किया गया था। चंद्रयान-1 ने चंद्रमा के सतह पर पानी की खोज करके पहले ही इतिहास रच चुका है। यही कारण है कि आजकल विश्व के तमाम अंतरिक्ष वैज्ञानिक और स्पेस एजेंसियां चंद्रमा को और करीब से जानने के लिए उत्सुक दिख रही हैं। अगर हम बात करें चंद्रयान-2 की, जो इसरो का दूसरा मिशन है, जुलाई 2019 में इसरो के सबसे ताकतवर रॉकेट LVM-3 द्वारा सफलतापूर्वक प्रक्षेपित किया गया था और आज भी लगभग 4 साल बाद या चंद्रमा के 100 किलोमीटर के सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में घूमते हुए बहुत ही उत्तम
Live images coming in from inside the ISRO command center in Bengaluru. I want to bring in India Today's Bengaluru Bureau Chief Nagarjun, who is with there. He's just a few meters outside this particular place where the viewing gallery is. Naga, the telemetry data has begun to come in from the Vikram lander. 37 minutes to go for touchdown. Only a few moments to go for the, the automatic landing sequence to be initiated. The screen behind you has information. What are you hearing? What's the mood there? Only 37 minutes to go, Naga.
That's true, absolutely. 37 minutes to go and around 18 or 16 minutes to go for the power descent. At 5:44 p.m. is when the power descent will begin. We can see the scientists and at the command center have all seated in their chairs right now. Let me break down some figures for the viewers as well. When the lander reaches the designated spot where it starts its descent, it would be traveling around 6,048 kilometers per second. So that's almost more than the speed of sound as well. It's Mach 4, Mach 5 speed. That velocity will have to be reduced. For 11 minutes, starting from 5:44 p.m., there'll be rough braking system. So there'll be random loss of height. From 30 kilometers where it's orbiting right now, it will come down to 7 kilometers. So there's a loss of 23 kilometers in vertical height. And from the final landing spot, when the sequence begins, it will be around 745 kilometers away. So if, for example, say, if I'm in Bangalore right now, if the landing spot is Bangalore, the descent will begin 800 kilometers away from Bangalore as a vertical distance and as the horizontal distance, and the vertical distance is 30 kilometers. So if you draw the curve, you can imagine the height of 30 kilometers and the horizontal land distance around 745 kilometers. 11 minutes is when the rough braking phase will happen. There'll be a big reduction in height as well as covering the ground. After that, the remaining 15 minutes will be a slow descent, and final 180 seconds to 120 seconds will be the time when the radio altimeter picks up the exact spot. Radio altimeter will be the laser just coming down through the lander, picking the spot and exact the height, including nanocentimeters height will be known. And finally, the landing spot will be chosen by the lander. All these comments that we are talking about, all these actions that we are talking about has been pre-fed. They just have to initiate the process. Nothing to be done because the commands have already been pre-fed. The lander knows when to fire the retro boosters. The lander knows when to start tilting towards the vertical direction. Right now it's still orbiting horizontally. It has to come down vertically, and this will be the last orbit ever of lander Chandrayaan-3.
Okay, so it's 5:29 now. So just about 15 minutes to go, Naga, before the automatic landing system engages. The 15 minutes of terror will then start, and then at 6:04 p.m., 34 minutes from now, is the scheduled touchdown. There's no turning back. The point of no return has been crossed. Chandrayaan-3 is going to be a success. This fail-safe program is now headed towards lunar history on the surface of the moon. These are live images coming to you, mind you, from the ISRO Command Center. So all of the men and women you see on your screen are all part of the Chandrayaan-3 program and are playing a very, very important role, not just in the entire program so far, but in this critical final phase, because in many people's minds, especially in the public mind, this program only boils down to what you're going to see over the next 33 minutes. While that is not strictly true, the program has achieved a great deal of success so far already and proven many things, many naysayers wrong. But it is this final thing that will be the cherry on top as far as India's space endeavors through Chandrayaan-3 are concerned. Akshita is also in that amazing viewing gallery with that big screen that has a stream of live ISRO data that's being put out directly from the Vikram lander. Akshita, 33 minutes to go. I'm sure the crowds are swelling inside that room right now. India Today's coverage is being the most watched online and on television right now. Not surprised at all, given the great voices we've had on our coverage. And now the moment of truth is before us. 33 minutes to go, Akshita.
That's right. There's a very restricted crowd in here, Shiv, tracking those updates that you see behind me. I'm going to have to keep turning back to see what's happening because I don't want to miss out on any of the action. Less than 15 minutes to go. And you know, some of the data that Nagarjun was putting out for us right now of how exactly the lander is traveling, it's astounding to say the least. We're talking about 745 kilometers being covered in a matter of 15 minutes, Shiv. So can you imagine the speed at which it's traveling? And then from that kind of a speed to come to absolute stillness and then ensure that, you know, it doesn't crash land but soft land. So from 6,000 kilometers per hour, you're going to be bringing it down to stillness. And as Naga pointed out, you know, 4 phases where the powered descent start. That's the very first phase. That's quite the longest phase of the 4. You're going to be seeing it horizontal, slowly coming vertical. By the start of the 4th phase is when it's actually vertical. So when lander Vikram is vertical, he covers very little distance actually in that. He covers just about 150 meters. And when he's vertical, it's about 800 to 1,500 meters above the lunar surface. So it's only at that point that Vikram from here goes to here. So it's a very slow but smooth operation that will be done. They don't want any jerks that brings it right up vertical, and they know full well how important that particular phase is, Shiv, because that's where Chandrayaan-2 kind of faltered. The kind of power, the engines, the thrusters that are used, which is what Raj also referred to, that's going to be most crucial. All of that will start at 5:44 p.m. What they're referring to as, in fact, the automatic landing sequence that kicks off at 5:44 p.m. 6:04. That's how long it's going to last. The details that they've given us is that from about 30 kilometers height, it's going to come right down and touch down at the surface. For so many days now, lander Vikram has been working hard, going on the elliptical orbit. He'll finally get a chance to kind of rest, put his feet down, literally onto the moon's Shiv.
11 minutes to go for the auto landing system to engage. 15 minutes of terror. 6:04 p.m. the landing. I want to just listen into some of the Isro commentary coming in live.
Overall system performance. The largely unexplored south pole of the moon has been chosen as the intended landing site, since there is a possibility of finding ice and other minerals which would be vital resources for future explorers. Apart from continuing investigations pioneered by Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2, the Chandrayaan-3 mission will also provide invaluable data to the science community around the world. Let us give our viewers a glimpse on the configuration of Chandrayaan-3 mission.
This is a completely unedited live raw feed from the Isro command center that India Today is showing you on our screens right now. That's a simulation of what the landing is going to look like. There will be imagery. Viewer, we're getting a lot of messages, especially on social media, about whether there will be images of the landing once it takes place. But there will be some photographs once Isro releases them. Remember, the lander itself has cameras. It has been taking photographs while in orbit so far. The latest images came in just yesterday of the moon's surface. Amazing images. And now there will be more in a short while from now post that landing. Let's just listen in once again. An explanation happening here of the landing sequence.
किसी भी आपदा से बाहर आकर के मिशन के मुख्य उद्देश्य को पूरा कर सके। इस क्रम में लैंडर के मुख्य सेंसर्स कारा, लासा, LHBC, LDV और LHDAG का कार्यात्मक परीक्षण भी किया जा चुका है। LDV जो कि पूर्णतः स्वदेशी तकनीकी से बनाया गया एक नया सेंसर है, इसका मुख्य कार्य लैंडर के वेलोसिटी को तीनों अक्षों में कंप्यूट करना है। पावर डिसेंट के दौरान लैंडर के सटीक पोजीशन और वेलोसिटी का ज्ञान होना बहुत ही आवश्यक है। लिराप यानी लेजर इनर्शियल रिफरेंसिंग एंड एक्सीलरोमीटर पैकेज इस कार्य को पावर डिसेंट के दौरान बखूबी निभाएगा। ट्रैजेक्टरी जनरेशन जो कि चंद्रयान-3 मिशन के लिए बहुत ही अहम है, क्योंकि हर ऑर्बिट मैन्यूवर के बाद यह सुनिश्चित किया जाता है कि लैंडर की मिशन ऑब्जेक्टिव को ना बदले। इस क्रम में मैं यह भी आपको बता दूं कि ऑर्बिट डिटर्मिनेशन जो कि उपग्रह के पोजीशन और वेलोसिटी को बहुत ही एक्यूरेटली बताता है, एक बहुत ही कठिन और जटिल कंप्यूटेशन और एस्टिमेशन होता है। यहाँ यह भी जानना महत्वपूर्ण है कि चंद्रयान-2 का OHRC पेलोड अब तक काफी ऊंचे स्तर का डैम प्रदान किया है, जिसके फलस्वरूप लैंडिंग साइट की सीमा को बढ़ाकर 4x2.4 किलोमीटर कर दिया गया है, जो कि पावर डिसेंट के दौरान सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग कराने में काफी सहायक सिद्ध होगा।
Apart from the sensors, Chandrayaan-3 is equipped with a suite of sophisticated payload instruments. While Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 orbiter have provided abundant remote sensing data of Moon, equally important are the on-site localized measurements that provide ground truths. Lander and rover have payloads which are completely new and will perform in situ analysis of lunar surface. The two spectroscopes on rover, APXS and LIBS, will actively measure the surface elemental abundances at the landing location and surrounding area. The lander carries a seismometer ILSA that can sense impact events and lunar quakes. The thermal probe CHAST will measure the temperature profile and thermal conductivity of Moon's regolith. The Rambha payload will carry out lunar ionosphere studies, while the laser retroreflector array shall be a passive location indicator for future spacecraft equipped with laser altimeter. The propulsion module has not been left behind, and an experimental shape payload has been added to it as a value addition. It will help in understanding the nature and characteristics of water-rich planets and will also aid in the future study of potentially habitable exoplanets. We are minutes away from the start of powered descent. The entire powered descent shall be carried out by the onboard autonomous landing sequencer, or ALS, which is a series of instructions preloaded to the lander module. These instructions include the commands to be executed, data to be collected and analyzed, and decisions to be made and executed autonomously throughout the powered descent.
जी हाँ, अब हम पावर डिसेंट के बहुत ही करीब आ चुके हैं। हम आपको बताते चलें कि पावर डिसेंट को कुल 4 चरणों में बांटा गया है। सबसे पहले आता है रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज, जिसमें लैंडर की ऊंचाई को चंद्रमा की सतह से 30 किलोमीटर से घटाकर 7.4 किलोमीटर कर दिया जाएगा। इस पूरी प्रक्रिया को पूरा करने में लगभग 11.5 मिनट लगेगा और इसका समानांतर वेग 1680 मीटर प्रति सेकंड से घटाकर 358 मीटर प्रति सेकंड हो जाएगा।
We have continuous flow of lander telemetry data from ISRO's Deep Space Network IDSN-32 located in Belalu, Bengaluru. The data is being acquired real-time by station and is flown to the Mission Operation Complex through our communication links. In addition to it, we also have support from ESA and JPL DSN stations. There will be no ground intervention once the ALS takes charge. The preparation for today's event had started 48 hours before, wherein various pre-selections and uplinking of parameters for the autonomous landing sequence were carried out. The whole descent is divided into 4 phases: the rough braking phase, the attitude hold phase, fine braking phase, and the local navigation phase or the terminal descent phase.
जी हाँ, एटीट्यूड होल्ड फेज, जो कि पावर डिसेंट का दूसरा चरण है, एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण फेज है। इस 10 सेकंड के स्मॉल ड्यूरेशन के दौरान लैंडर के 2 महत्वपूर्ण सेंसर कारा और लासा लैंडर की ऊंचाई की गणना करेंगे। इस फेज के पूरा होते ही लैंडर चंद्रमा के सतह से कुल 6.8 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई पर होगा।
During the rough braking phase, the lander velocity shall be brought down from 1,680 meters per second to 358 meters per second. The altitude will be brought down from 30 kilometers to 7.4 kilometers at the end of rough braking. Currently, we can see the scientists are analyzing the lander data.
जी हाँ, हम ये देख सकते हैं कि मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स रूप में बैठे सभी वैज्ञानिक ये जो भी डेटा देख रहे हैं वो डीप स्पेस नेटवर्क आईडीएसएन 32 के द्वारा प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा है। और अगर हम अब बात करें पावर डिसेंट के तीसरे चरण का, जो कि फाइन ब्रेकिंग फेज होगा, जिसमें लैंडर लैंडिंग साइट से जस्ट 800 मीटर की ऊंचाई पर वर्टिकली होगा। इस चरण को पूरा होने में लगभग 3 मिनट लगेंगे और इस चरण के पूरा होते ही लैंडर की वेलोसिटी लगभग शून्य हो जाएगी।
The scientists here at ISRO are glued to their systems, analyzing all sorts of complex data. We are very close to the power descent, to the start of the power descent phase.
जी हाँ, अगर हम अब बात करें पावर डिसेंट के चौथे और अंतिम चरण का, जो कि लोकल नेविगेशन फेज या टर्मिनल डिसेंट फेज भी कहा जाता है, इस दौरान लैंडर के 2 इंजन बंद कर दिए जाएंगे और लैंडर के सेंसरों द्वारा इसके हाइट और वेलोसिटी की गणना इनर्शियल नेविगेशन को भेज दिया जाएगा। इस दौरान लैंडर 150 मीटर की ऊंचाई को प्राप्त करने के बाद कुल 131 सेकंड लगाएगा। इस पड़ाव पे आने के बाद पुनः लैंडर 22 सेकंड के लिए हवरिंग करेगा। आप इस समय अपने स्क्रीन पे मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स में बैठे सभी मान्यगणों को देख सकते हैं, जो कि बहुत ही उत्सुकता के साथ टेलीमेट्री डेटा को देख रहे हैं। अभी हम लोग पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने से जस्ट कुछ ही पल दूर हैं। पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने में लगभग 30 सेकंड ही बचा है और हमको ये सारे डेटा मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स रूम में आईडीएसएन 32 के द्वारा, जो कि लगातार लैंडर के कनेक्शन में बना हुआ है, प्रदान कर रहा है।
Dear viewers, the pivotal power descent has begun and the lander module is propelling towards the moon's surface along the intended trajectory.
जी हाँ, अब हम देख सकते हैं रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज की शुरुआत हो चुकी है।
During this rough braking phase, the lander velocity shall be brought down from 1,680 meters per second to 358 meters per second. The altitude will be brought down from 30 kilometers to 7.4 kilometers at the end of rough braking. All this in the duration of 690 seconds or 11.5 minutes. Currently, the Laser Inertial Reference and Accelerometer package (LIRAP) is aiding in the navigation.
जी हाँ, अभी आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर अब तक कुल 191 किलोमीटर हॉरिजेंटल दिशा में चल चुका है और अभी तक इसकी वेलोसिटी लगभग 31 किलोमीटर बनी हुई है।
The lander module has traveled a distance of approximately 228 kilometers. The complete downrange that will be traveled during this phase shall be nearly 713.5 kilometers.
जी हाँ, कुल 745 किलोमीटर के इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज में आप देख सकते हैं कि हम लोग लगभग अपनी यात्रा 20% कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं। पावर डिसेंट की यह शुरुआत हम कह सकते हैं कि बहुत ही सटीक और सधी हुई है, जिसमें लैंडर अपने वेगमान को अनुमानित तरीके से घटा रहा है।
The altitude of the lander module will reduce from 7.4 kilometers to 6.8 kilometers during the next phase, which is going to be the attitude hold phase. We can currently see that the altitude of the lander module is nearly 31 kilometers.
आरुषि, अभी हम इस ग्राउंड ट्रेस को देखते हुए कह सकते हैं कि रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज की शुरुआत बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से हुई है। आप ये देख सकती हैं कि जो भी प्रोजेक्टेड ग्राउंड ट्रेस है उसी पे अपना लैंडर मॉड्यूल आगे चलते हुए बढ़ रहा है। अभी तक ये देखा जा सकता है कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल लगभग 370 किलोमीटर 36 दिशा में चल चुका है।
The mission operations team is analyzing the data. We can all see the seriousness and the concentration with which each and every parameter of the lander module is being analyzed. The performance so far seems to be nominal.
जी आरुषि, चूंकि ALS एक्टिवेट किया जा चुका है, इसलिए ग्राउंड से कोई कमांडिंग नहीं की जा रही है। इस दौरान आपके स्क्रीन पे ये सारे डेटा इसरो के डीप स्पेस नेटवर्क से रियल टाइम में आ रहे हैं। इस मिशन में सेकेंड और थर्ड ऑर्डर गाइडेंस पॉलिनोमियल का प्रयोग हुआ है, जो कि इनर्शियल थ्रस्ट और एंगल के हमेशा सुनिश्चित करेगा।
During the entire descent, there is no ground intervention as the ALS has taken charge. The preparation for today's event had started nearly 48 hours before, wherein various pre-selections and uplinking of parameters were done. We can see that the vertical velocity of the lander module has been brought down. It is continuously coming down. And the ALS had already been initiated 1 hour before the scheduled time of the power descent start. Following this, the throttleable engine electronics module, the TECM, was switched on and lander was oriented to the favorable attitude.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल जिसकी शुरुआत में वेलोसिटी 1680 मीटर पर सेकंड थी, लगभग 1150 मीटर पर सेकंड हो चुकी है, जो कि एक बहुत ही मैजेस्टिक शुरुआत कही जा सकती है इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज के लिए। यहाँ पे मैं आपको ये भी बताते चलूं कि आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि द लैंडर मॉड्यूल का आल्टीट्यूड धीरे धीरे अब कम होता हुआ दिख रहा है, और जो कि एक्सपेक्टेड भी है। अभी हम बात करें करंट आल्टीट्यूड की, तो जो कि 28.6 किलोमीटर के आसपास है।
आप स्क्रीन पर ये भी देख सकते हैं Chandrayaan-3 lander imager display. The lander imager is continuously taking photographs of the moon's surface, and that is also being streamed here. Currently, the horizontal velocity has been brought down, and the distance traveled is 574 kilometers. The current altitude is 27 kilometers, as can be seen on the screen.
जी हाँ, करीब अपने आधे सफर को पूरा करते हुए इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज में लैंडर बहुत ही आगे की तरफ बढ़ते हुए अपनी ऊंचाई को घटा रहा है। अगर अब बात करें तो लैंडर की ऊंचाई चंद्रमा के सतह से लगभग 27 किलोमीटर से नीचे हो चुकी है, करीब 26.7 किलोमीटर के आसपास है।
The next phase after the rough braking phase is the attitude hold phase, which will be for a duration of nearly 10 seconds. The lander will be oriented such that both the altimeters will be looking exactly towards the moon's surface. At the end of this attitude hold phase, Height measurement update to navigation system will be given from the laser and car band altimeters. Currently, we are in the middle of the rough braking phase.
जी हाँ, अगर हम ध्यान से देखें तो लगभग 8 मिनट की यात्रा के बाद लैंडर अपनी हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी को लगातार कम करते हुए अपनी ऊंचाई अभी की ऊंचाई के समय 24 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर चुका है। अब तक के आंकड़े को देखते हुए हम कह सकते हैं कि लैंडिंग पूरी तरह से नॉमिनल है। यहाँ पर हम देख सकते हैं कि हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी लगातार कम होती हुई दिख रही है। The altitude of lander from ground is currently 22 kilometer, which is again going to be coming down, and that is expected.
For the viewers who have joined now, we are in the power descent phase, and we are in the rough braking phase, which is the first phase of the power descent. We have currently traveled a downrange of 697 kilometers, and the downrange that has to be traveled during this phase is 713.5 kilometers.
जी हाँ, अभी आप देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी लगभग 720 मीटर प्रति सेकंड हो गई है। लगभग हम ये कह सकते हैं कि 900 मीटर प्रति सेकंड वेलोसिटी को कम किया जा चुका है। At the same time, we can see the altitude of the lander is just 17.8 kilometer from the moon surface, which is going to be around 7.4 at the end of the rough braking phase.
इस फेज के बाद हम जाएंगे towards the attitude hold phase, where we will be expecting sensor update from the laser and car band altimeters. We can see the visualization of the lander module moving towards the moon's surface. The current altitude is nearly 15.2 kilometers, and the distance traveled is 754 kilometers. We can also see the image that the lander imager camera has been providing.
जी हाँ, इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज के दौरान 800 न्यूटन के चारों थ्रोटल इंजन अपने कार्य को पूरी तरह से अंजाम दे रहे हैं और लैंडर के हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी को लगातार कम कर रहे हैं। अब तक लैंडर लगभग अपने 75 से 80% की यात्रा को पूरा कर चुका है।
After the rough braking and the attitude hold phase, we shall be having the fine braking phase, which will continue for nearly 3 minutes. The whole phase is being driven by the autonomous landing sequencer, and there is no intervention from ground.
जी हाँ आरुषि, अभी आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकती हैं कि जो करंट आल्टीट्यूड है चंद्रमा के सतह से लगभग 10 किलोमीटर के आसपास है। जी हाँ, हम अपने हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हम सभी का उत्साहवर्धन करने के लिए दक्षिणी अफ्रीका के जोहान्सबर्ग से जुड़ गए हैं।
Okay, 9 minutes to go for touchdown. It looks like everything is going absolutely well. You can see a window on the top right-hand side of your screen of the Prime Minister. We're wondering whether there's going to be a video message from him as soon as the touchdown is complete. 80% of the lander's journey is complete. These final 9 minutes are going to be absolutely crucial, viewer. The autonomous landing system has taken over. Powered descent is on. The rough braking phase is over. The fine braking is going to take place. The Prime Minister is going to be tuning in. He's watching all of this in Johannesburg. Let's go straight back to the ISRO commentary live. Let's go straight back.
के उपरांत लगभग 800 मीटर हो जाएगी।
We can hear from the mission operations team that the sensors are performing nominally, and we are currently in the midst of the fine braking phase, which is going to continue for 3 minutes, and the altitude is going to be reduced to nearly 800 meters at the end of this phase.
जी हाँ, जैसा कि आरुषि जी ने बताया कि लगभग 3 मिनट के उपरांत लैंडर की हाइट लगभग 800 मीटर वर्टिकली होगी और यहाँ पे लैंडर की हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी
8 minutes to go for that landing. We can confirm to you, viewer, that the Prime Minister has just logged in. He's watching all of this live from Johannesburg. The fine braking of the lander is taking place right now.
831 kilometers.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई अब चंद्रमा की सतह से लगभग 3 किलोमीटर से कम हो चुकी है।
We are very close to the moon's surface, nearly 2.6 kilometers as we can see.
Absolutely tantalizing moments, viewer. The final fine braking process is currently underway. The mood at the ISRO command center is absolutely electric. No smiles yet, but they're all clapping. The Prime Minister apparently has logged in. There you see him, the live images. The Prime Minister has logged in from Johannesburg. He's in contact with the ISRO command center as well. For these final minutes, the Prime Minister is going to be there. You can see all the live positional data on the screen right next to where the Prime Minister is. This is a feed which we don't have control of. The ISRO is sending it to us, so I wish we could, focus it. There you go. That's the crucial one. Live images of, of the moon's surface from the hazard camera on the Vikram lander with the information.
जी हाँ, अब हम फाइन ब्रेकिंग वेव के एकदम करीब आ चुके हैं। हाँ, आप तालियों के गड़गड़ाहट से सुन सकते हैं कि हम लोगों ने तीसरे चरण को भी बहुत ही सफलतापूर्वक हासिल कर लिया है और अभी हम वर्टिकल डिसेंट फेज में आ चुके हैं, जिसकी शुरुआत भी बहुत ही अच्छे ढंग से हो चुकी है।
Lot of applause indicates that till now the performance has been nominal. We are in the vertical descent phase 1. The altitude is being brought down from 800 meters and we are nearing and approaching the lunar surface.
जी, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि
the Vikram lander has just crossed a barrier that it was unable to cross during the Chandrayaan-2 mission. The very sequence that had bedeviled the Chandrayaan-2 has been successfully completed by the Chandrayaan-3 lander. It is about to begin its final descent towards the moon's surface now. This is now the final descent. The smiles have appeared on people's faces. Let's listen in.
As well as the vertical velocity is now being constantly reduced. And the lander module has begun its descent towards the landing site.
जी हाँ, आप अपने
40 meters. This is now final. The last few minutes of this descent are currently on, viewer. The vertical velocity is dropping. The altitude is now only 180 meters. And as you can see in that live telemetric data, that simulated data, a depiction, the lunar surface is right below the Vikram lander. 4 minutes to go for completion. That landing is likely to be executed, a few seconds before or after. It's a rough time. But this is the final approach right now. You can count the number of minutes on one hand of how long it's going to take for this to be completed. 140 meters. This is ending really, really, really well so far. Let's just listen in once again to what ISRO is telling us.
इन सारे वैज्ञानिकों के द्वारा की जा रही है. जी हाँ, आप अगर फिर से ध्यान से देखें तो एल्टीट्यूड पुनः कम होता जा रहा है. अभी हम लोग लगभग 135 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं.
The sensors that are
meters,
updating at this point
121, 118, 112, barely 100 meters to go for the moon landing, viewer. There is an absolutely electric atmosphere inside the ISRO command center. The Prime Minister has tuned in. Live pictures of the Prime Minister. He's got a smile on his face. 65 meters to go for that touchdown. Everything is going beautifully at this point of time. I can only imagine the emotions, what's going through the minds of all of our scientists there at the ISRO command center.
At zero velocity, vertical and horizontal. We were hovering now, and now we are approaching the moon's surface.
धीरे धीरे लैंडर
vertical velocity is nearly zero. It's about 2 meters per second, 47 meters. The lander has basically become like a helicopter now. It is just hovering above the surface. 31 meters, 25 meters, 23 meters, 22 meters, 20 meters above the surface. This is it. Hold on to your seatbelts, viewer. This is it. This is the moment of truth. The Prime Minister is watching live. And here you have Vikram lander about to kiss the surface of the moon.
लैंडर मॉड्यूल.
People are applauding. Let us all wait to hear from the Secretary Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Somnath.
लैंडर मॉड्यूल पूरी तरह से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा के सतह पे लैंड हो चुका है. ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही गर्व की बात है. हिंदी में एक कहावत है कि चंदा मामा दूर के, लेकिन अब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि चंदा मामा अपने घर के.
बहुत ही उम्दा. The hard work of the entire ISRO community has come to fruition.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, नमस्कार. Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir, I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों, जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है. ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं राष्ट्र जीवन की चिरंजीव चेतना बन जाती है. ये पल अविस्मरणीय है. ये क्षण अभूतपूर्व है. ये क्षण विकसित भारत के शंखनाद का है. ये क्षण नए भारत के जयघोष का है. ये क्षण मुश्किलों के महासागर को पार करने का है. ये क्षण जीत के चंद्र पथ पर चलने का है। ये क्षण 140 करोड़ धड़कनों के सामर्थ्य का है। ये क्षण भारत में नई ऊर्जा, नया विश्वास, नई चेतना का है। ये क्षण भारत के उदयमान भाग्य के आह्वान का है। अमृत काल की प्रथम प्रभा में सफलता की ये अमृत वर्षा हुई है। हमने धरती पर संकल्प लिया और चांद पर उसे साकार किया। और हमारे वैज्ञानिक साथियों ने भी कहा, इंडिया इज नाउ ऑन द मून। आज हम अंतरिक्ष में नए भारत की नई उड़ान के साक्षी बने हैं। साथियों, मैं इस समय ब्रिक्स समिट में हिस्सा लेने के लिए दक्षिण अफ्रीका में हूं, लेकिन हर देशवासी की तरह मेरा मन चंद्रयान महाअभियान पर भी लगा हुआ था। नया इतिहास बनते ही हर भारतीय जश्न में डूब गया है। हर घर में उत्सव शुरू हो गया है। हृदय से मैं भी अपने देशवासियों के साथ, अपने परिवारजनों के साथ इस उमंग और उल्लास से जुड़ा हुआ हूं। मैं टीम चंद्रयान को, इसरो को और देश के सभी वैज्ञानिकों को जी जान से बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, जिन्होंने इस पल के लिए वर्षों तक इतना परिश्रम किया है। उत्साह, उमंग, आनंद और भावुकता से भरे इस अद्भुत पल के लिए मैं 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को भी कोटि कोटि बधाइयां देता हूं। मेरे परिवारजनों, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों के परिश्रम और प्रतिभा से भारत चंद्रमा के उस दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर पहुंचा है, जहां आज तक दुनिया का कोई भी देश नहीं पहुंच सका। अब आज के बाद से चांद से जुड़े मिथक बदल जाएंगे, कथानक भी बदल जाएंगे और नई पीढ़ी के लिए कहावतें भी बदल जाएगी। भारत में तो हम सभी लोग धरती को मां कहते हैं और चांद को मामा बुलाते हैं। कभी कहा जाता था, चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं। चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं। अब एक दिन वो भी आएगा जब बच्चे कहा करेंगे, चंदा मामा बस एक टूर के हैं। Friends, on this joyous occasion, I would like to address all the people of the world, the people of every country and region. India's successful moon mission is not just India's alone. This is a year in which the world is witnessing India's G20 presidency. Our approach of one earth, one family, one future is resonating across the globe. This human-centric approach that we present and that we represent has been welcomed universally. Our moon mission is also based on the same human-centric approach. Therefore, this success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future. I am confident that all countries in the world, including those from the global south, are capable of achieving such feats. We can all aspire for the moon and beyond. मेरे परिवारजनों, चंद्रयान महाअभियान के ये उपलब्धि भारत की उड़ान को चंद्रमा की कक्षाओं से आगे जाएगी। हम हमारे सौर मंडल की सीमाओं का सामर्थ्य परखेंगे और मानव के लिए ब्रह्मांड की अनेक संभावनाओं को साकार करने के लिए भी जरूर काम करेंगे। हमने भविष्य के लिए कई बड़े और महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य तय किए हैं। जल्द ही सूर्य के विस्तृत अध्ययन के लिए इसरो आदित्य L1 मिशन लॉन्च करने जा रहा है। इसके बाद शुक्र भी इसरो के लक्ष्यों में से एक है। गगनयान के जरिए देश अपने पहले ह्यूमन स्पेस फ्लाइट मिशन के लिए भी पूरी तैयारी के साथ जुटा है। भारत बार बार ये साबित कर रहा है कि स्काई इज नॉट द लिमिट। साथियों, साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी देश के उज्जवल भविष्य का आधार है। इसलिए आज के इस दिन को देश हमेशा हमेशा के लिए याद रखेगा। यह दिन हम सभी को एक उज्जवल भविष्य की ओर बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित करेगा। ये दिन हमें अपने संकल्पों की सिद्धि का रास्ता दिखाएगा। ये दिन इस बात का प्रतीक है कि हार से सबक लेकर जीत कैसे हासिल की जाती है। एक बार फिर देश के सभी वैज्ञानिकों को बहुत बहुत बधाई और भविष्य के मिशन के लिए ढेरों शुभकामनाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
From ISRO, India congratulates ISRO. India today congratulates ISRO, the men and women. Let's listen in.
To this success, and let me take this opportunity to thank the people behind this mission, the project director of Chandrayaan-3, He is here. Veera Muthuvel, congratulations to you. The Associate Director, Kalpana, and the Mission Operations Director, Srikanth. And the satellite was built at Your House Satellite Center, Chandrayaan, the Director. Thank you, sir. Hello.
It's a great moment of happiness on behalf of team. It gives me immense satisfaction on achieving this goal as a project director of this mission. The entire mission operations right from launch till landing happened flawlessly as per the timeline, and we became the 4th country to land to demonstrate the soft landing onto the moon surface, and we became the first country to go to near to the south pole of the moon. I take this opportunity to thank navigation, guidance and control team, propulsion team, sensors team and all the mainframe subsystems team who have brought success to this mission. I also take the opportunity to thank the Critical Operations Review Committee for thoroughly reviewing the mission operations right from launch till this date. The target was on spot because of the review process. I also thank the ISRO higher management, right from Chairman ISRO, Director URSC and all the center directors and higher ISRO officials. And finally, my thanks to the Chandrayaan-3 project executives spread across the ISRO centers. Thank you.
Mission Director Srikanth.
It gives me an immense pleasure to be part of Chandrayaan-3 and acting as Mission Director. I would like to thank each and every team member who has supported in carrying out all the mission operations flawlessly. And I would like to thank my senior management, Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, my senior colleagues and my team members for carrying out and supporting all the things carrying out in a proper way. Thank you very much.
Associate Project Director Kalpana.
Good evening to all. This will remain the most memorable and the happiest moment for all of us, for our team Chandrayaan-3. We have achieved our goal flawlessly. From the day we started rebuilding our spacecraft after Chandrayaan-2 experience, it has been breathe in, breathe out Chandrayaan-3 for our team. And starting from the reconfiguration to all the special tests and the simulations we have conducted meticulously, and this has been possible only because of our immense effort from our Chandrayaan-3 team, and of course with the guidance from our Chairman ISRO, our directors and all our experts. With all this, it has been possible. Thank you one and all. Thank you for all the minutest help which has been provided from all the areas of departments. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Chandrayaan-3 is a result of the work done by thousands of scientists, engineers, our staff and industries and support team across ISRO and other places, other institutions. And Shankaran has been the lead of the center which integrated all of these efforts in the last so many years. So I request him to speak on behalf of all of you.
Thank you very much for the affection that has been displayed today now. Today, we have achieved what we set out to achieve in 2019. It was delayed by about 4 years, but we have done it. When Chandrayaan-3 was launched, after the separation of the spacecraft from launch vehicle, I said, I will speak the rest of the things after the soft landing. So here I will take a couple of minutes to tell the tremendous amount of effort that has been put in by the entire project team. When I say project team, it is not just only the project director and associate project director. Of course, they are the face of the project. They have been living, sleeping, eating, breathing Chandrayaan for the last 4 years. They have been supported by such a large number of people, particularly in the navigation, guidance and control area, propulsion system. This area, the amount of effort that has been put by people, the number of simulations that have been done, the number of reviews they have gone through, the amount of criticism they faced and overcome that. It is, as a person who has been watching this for the last 4 years along with them, my heart goes out for them. The amount of effort is tremendous. That is what ISRO is all about. That is what our organization has taught us to do. Now today this success has put us even more higher responsibility, as the Honorable Prime Minister was telling, because we have set the bar now so high. Nothing less than nothing less spectacular than this is going to be inspiring for any of us in the future. So as the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, we will be now looking at putting the man in space, putting a spacecraft around Venus and landing a craft in Mars. Work on all these activities are going on for a few years, and this success today will inspire us and will spur us to take those efforts even more strongly, so that we will make our country proud again and again and again. Thank you very much for every one of you who have directly or indirectly participated in this mission, encouraged us, intentionally or unintentionally helped us in all for every one of you. A big thank you, because even casual remark, an unintended point can help a person who is striving to reach a goal. The person who is making that remark may not have meant it that way, but sometimes it can ignite that's why I said that even unintended help is very, very, very welcome, and we are very, very thankful for that. Thank you, Team ISRO, for supporting all of us. The amount of affection we received when this mission came into this final stage, the number of people who gave us confidence that nothing can go wrong and this is going to be successful. In fact, I was not that much confident, because we have seen a couple of times issues, because I know very well as a person who has been doing in this domain for 36 years, I know there are thousands of things. Any of that can anytime go wrong and derail. But so many of the people, because that I only see as the reflection of the effort we have put, that people are so happy to see this effort and they want us to succeed. It is not that they know that we are going to succeed. The people want us to succeed. So thank you very much for everyone for your love and affection. We will continue to do our best and make our flag fly, ISRO's as well as India's flag fly high. Thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister called me and conveyed his greetings to each one of you and your family, for the wonderful work you did in ISRO. So thanks are to him for the support that he is giving to us for missions like Chandrayaan-3 and the missions that are in the offing. I think that's a great word of comfort that we are receiving for pursuing the inspirational work that we are doing for the nation. I want to tell you, and I want to thank you also for each and everyone who prayed with us in the last many days, who wanted this success to happen in ISRO. I thank all those people in all around the country and maybe beyond the country for their blessings and wishes and affection that he has given to each one of us for doing this work for the last so many years. I want to specifically thank some senior people who have been standing with us, especially the name of Kiran Kumar sir and Mr. Kamalakar, Sri Koteshwar Rao. They have been helping so much. They were part of the team to help them to get the confidence and get the reviews done to ensure that nothing goes with any mistakes. And of course, this is not the work of us alone. This is the work of a generation of ISRO leadership and ISRO scientists. And this is a journey we started in Chandrayaan-1, continued in Chandrayaan-2, and Chandrayaan-2 craft is still working and doing a lot of communication work with us. And all the team that contributed to building Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 should be remembered and thanked while we celebrate Chandrayaan-3. And this is an incremental progress and definitely a great, huge one it is. And thank you so much for all the support and work that you have done. Thank you.
Total jubilation at the ISRO Command Center. The men and women of Team Chandrayaan, of ISRO, of the allied departments and projects in absolute ecstasy right now. Nobody can describe in words what they're feeling. Let's just get some natural sound in.
India moment. From the beginning of our coverage, we've been emphasizing how the project is built for failure, and now it's designed in a way that it successfully landed on the surface of the moon. Let's just go across to the former ISRO chief K. Sivan. He's speaking at this time. He's the one who broke down in tears last time. Those were of sorrow. Now I see some tears of joy.
Definitely, because this Chandrayaan-3, that is science data, it is not only for India, it is for the global scientists. So this data that the scientists will be using globally, and they will discover some new things from this data. That way, it's interest for the entire global interest is there.
So you're very much thankful and you look very happy at this point of time, sir.
Yes, sir. Let us see this one.
And these are those final telemetry images of the Vikram lander right before it touched down. These were relayed live just before the Prime Minister logged in from Johannesburg, where he's attending the BRICS summit. He just gave a long speech. We'll play out an excerpt from the Prime Minister's speech in just a moment. But these were those last tantalizing seconds before the touchdown took place. I don't think the ISRO officers, men and women of ISRO, are going to be leaving that command center in a hurry. Hopefully, they're going to get some time off to celebrate and, exhale. Many of them have been in absolute crunch mode for the last 2 months. Even before the launch of the Chandrayaan-3 actually happened. And that's why these are the purest emotions you're seeing from ISRO headquarters.
Let's spend a moment talking about what happens next. Raj Chingappa, the rover has landed. This is when Pragyan now comes out. We heard some horror stories yesterday of what happened on the Mars, where it got stuck in parachutes and overturned. So it's not over just yet. The 14-day mission of the Pragyan, then roaming across the surface of the moon, has to commence in a couple of hours from now.
Well, firstly, Rahul, it's a great leap for Indian space.
Of course.
And you remember when we were talking last night, I'd made a bet of a champagne that they will land successfully.
But I wasn't betting against you. No,
you didn't take it. I would be
so we're having the champagne together.
But yeah, I think the major mission is accomplished in the sense landing itself is such a specialized skill. and India becoming the fourth nation to do that. We saw how tough it was, because even Russia, that had done it 47 years ago, its 25th lunar crashes, right? And so therefore this achievement is even more sort of creditable. And let's take a look at what happens after this. Firstly, we have to study, once it is landed, that everything is stable, and I gather from the cheers that are there, it's not tilting, it's not doing any of the antics that it should, so therefore it's being stable. Now you wait for the power to build. And then in the next 6-7 hours, the rover, whenever they think it's fine, that everything is stable, there's no dust. You see, one of the things that's the
dust
spacecraft, yes, and because of the lack of gravity, the dust doesn't settle for, unlike on Earth. This will take an hour for it to settle. It just floats in the air, and if any of that gets into the critical equipment inside, then it will begin to damage it. So the first thing to ensure that is over. Then they will check all the systems, because you have solar panels. You will check whether the power is fine, the battery is working. When it, after all, it comes and crashes like this, right? And what happens is there are wonderful shock absorbers at the landing pads that's there. They're actually built of aluminium, made of honeycomb. So when it hits, it crushes this, and you've got pistons that hold it together. We hope that system worked, right? Then what happens is you have this whole system of the lander, the rover coming out of it, which is a very, very tricky thing.
Will we get to see it? What's fascinating, and you're such a tech geek yourself, all of it captured. These are not dots on a black screen which you just follow and imagine to be something. You're almost seeing it as is on your screen live.
I love the hazard camera footage that Raj and I were looking at, just before the landing took place. Fabulous, because in Chandrayaan-2 that wasn't there. So those live video footage that we were afforded this time wasn't there the last time. It was actually like watching the sequence, which basically means, I think, and Mr. Chingappa can correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point of time, the next few hours or maybe even tomorrow, ISRO will be in a position to release a full bit of footage of that actual landing, right from the rough braking phase to the landing.
Yeah, what you would have is a certain camera that is looking down there, the hazard camera, which will come down. You'll see it a soft landing on this. Now, what will happen is that I think one of we were chatting during that particular period where you wanted to say something.
I want to go across just at this moment live to Akshita Nandgopal and to Nagarjun Dwarkanath. There are boots on the ground at the ISRO headquarters near Bengaluru. Akshita and Nagarjun, we were dancing and celebrating in the newsroom. Describe the scenes where you were at in the ISRO headquarters.
Well, it was pretty much the same, Rahul. I must tell you that this is a memory that is etched in my mind forever. I was lucky enough to be here at the ISRO headquarters, and what a beautiful moment to be a part of. I can't stop beaming with pride, honestly, and I know that's the case with you, Naga, as well. There's going to be a press conference in a bit, yes?
In any moment, ISRO chairman would be addressing a press conference here, and I'm double happy because I saw in 2019, I was right here reporting for India Today what happened. Then it was 12 post-midnight, 12 o'clock in the midnight when we heard the sad news that it was only partial success. But this time around, we saw that whole, including the media were cheering for Chandrayaan-3 landing. So it was quite an overwhelming feeling for all of us. But like Mr. Raj Chingappa was talking about rover coming out, Pragyan, we have been told from ISRO scientists that it will take 2 to 4 hours for the rover Pragyan to come out of the lander because of the dust. The gravitational pull is quite low in compared to Earth, so it would not instantly settle. The dust should settle between 2 to 4 hours is what we are told. The rover Pragyan will come out any time between 2 to 4 hours, and then they'll check the solar panels. It'll work for 1 lunar day, that is 14 Earth days. And ISRO is trying something else this time. They want to make sure they charge the batteries enough within the 14 days. Again, use it for another 14 days for the next sunrise, so that in one project they're going to use for 2 cycles. That's the plan as of now. Hopefully, if at all the batteries are charged, we'll have almost 28 days of Pragyan doing experiments on the lunar surface. And what's the critical point in this experiment is water molecules. Because the South Pole doesn't receive large part of the sunlight, the scientists feel that tons and tons of ice are still in the lunar surface, and that would be a big invention or scientific invention for all of us, not just Indians, for humanity, that there's water on the moon.
It's why the NASA, ESA, everyone has been watching this. They were all international channels that had cut live to this particular moment when the touchdown happened. We can hear the audio checks happening behind us, Rahul, and that's because they're getting set for the ISRO chief and everyone else to come here. We'll for sure get them live on India Today.
So when they're talking, Raj, about water on the moon, what kind of water is it? Is it water in the way that we imagine it on Earth?
Well, it's water ice, really. Okay, and in fact, when Chandrayaan-1 went up, we had an impactor probe that crashed onto the South Pole, and that was the first time they really knew. You know, funnily, people have been on the moon for the last 60 years, while America's even collected samples. But that area, the South Pole, has not been explored. It is,
which is what makes this mission so
it very special. And what happens? Why is water so important? Because if we need to go there and spend time, colonize us, set up a colony over there, firstly we need water. With those water, you can split into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen gives you fuel. So what happens? Like I was mentioning, because there's no atmosphere. Here, when we have to send up a rocket, we have this giant rocket to boost any spacecraft over there. If you're launching from the moon, you do not need that kind of, fuel to do that kind of stuff.
BJP President JP Nadda speaking at this moment. Let's listen.
लॉन्च मिशनों को अंजाम दिया है, जिसमें से 47 अंतरिक्ष मिशन श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने 9 सालों में लॉन्च किए हैं। इतने मिशन किसी भी सरकार ने लॉन्च नहीं हुए थे। यह यूपीए की सरकार में लॉन्च मिशन की संख्या से दुगना है। एक साथ 104 सैटेलाइट को अंतरिक्ष में स्थापित करना हो या सार्क देशों के लिए सैटेलाइट छोड़ना हो, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में कई कीर्तिमान स्थापित किए गए हैं। अंतरिक्ष क्षेत्र में हमारा अमेरिका, रूस और चीन की तुलना में काफ़ी कम खर्च पर क्वालिटी सेवा उपलब्ध करा रहा है। हमारा मंगलयान मिशन काफ़ी सफल रहा है। मंगलयान अपने लाइफ स्पैन से ज़्यादा चला है। फाइनल स्टेज पर लैंडिंग में स्पीड काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण हो जाती है। हमारे वैज्ञानिकों ने इस मिशन में अभूतपूर्व कार्य किया है। अब दुनिया स्पेस के क्षेत्र में हमें एक पावर के रूप में देख रही है। अमेरिका ने भी अपने स्पेस मिशन में हमें शामिल करने का आग्रह किया है। मैं एक बार पुनः इस ऐतिहासिक उपलब्धि के लिए देश के वैज्ञानिकों को बधाई देता हूं और इस अविस्मरणीय पल की अनुभूति दिलाने के लिए देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। भाजपा की ओर से मैं इस महान क्षण के लिए देश की जनता को बधाई देता हूं और इस सफलता के लिए सभी को बधाई देता हूं।
Rapturous scenes all across the country. India is celebrating. You think that an India-Pakistan World Cup match is tense. Watching this Shiv live, nothing competes, nothing compares. This is at another level altogether.
This is another level altogether. I mean, I was in Bengaluru in 2019 with Raj Chengappa. All of us were there when the Chandrayaan-2 was unable to...
और मून तो मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि ना केवल हिंदुस्तान ने चांद पर अपनी जगह बनाई है, बल्कि जैसे मैंने अपने आरंभिक समय में कहा था कि जिस चांद के दीदार के लिए सारी दुनिया तरसती है, उसको आज हमने छू करके महसूस किया है। और ये संभव हुआ कि यहाँ प्रतिभा भी थी, योग्यता भी थी, लेकिन उस प्रकार के वातावरण में हमारे वर्क एनवायरनमेंट में उस तरह की अनुकूलता नहीं थी। और इसलिए धन्यवाद करना है मोदी जी ने, जब अंतरिक्ष के विभाग को पुरानी बंदिशों से मुक्त किया तो कुछ ही वर्षों के भीतर एक तीव्र गति का क्वांटम जंप हुआ है। और कहाँ ये यात्रा प्रारंभ हुई थी आज से 60 साल पहले, जब विक्रम साराभाई साइकिल के कैरेज पर लॉन्चर चलाया करते थे। और आज हमारा मिशन जाकर के जल के होने का प्रमाण लेकर आता है। और आने वाले समय में देश जो पहले भारत को से अपेक्षा करते थे कि भारत उनका अनुसरण करेगा, वो भारत की अगुवाई में काम करने के लिए तैयार रहेंगे।
चंद्रमा के दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर पहुंचने वाला भारत पहला देश है और ऐसे अगर देखा जाए तो चौथा देश है। एक बड़ी कामयाबी वो 17 मिनट जिसको कि लेकर के बड़ा ऊहापोह की स्थिति थी। आप भी जब बैठे हुए थे तब सोच रहे थे कि होगा कि नहीं, लेकिन अब मिशन पूरा हुआ।
मुझे लगता है कि अगले 25 वर्ष का जो अमृतकाल जिसका उल्लेख अक्सर प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी करते हैं, और भारत जब एक ऊंचाई की तरफ, उस शिखर पटल की तरफ बढ़ेगा, उसका वो असेंट का सफर आज अंतरिक्ष के माध्यम से प्रारंभ हो चुका है।
सर, प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि आगे भी चाहे सूर्य का मिशन हो, गगनयान हो, इस तरीके के आगे भी मिशन भारत के जारी रहेंगे। आगे किस तरीके का प्लान है इस सफलता के बाद?
सबसे पहले तो हमारा गगनयान एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हमारा प्रोजेक्ट है, जिसके लिए आरंभिक एक अनमैन्ड 2 मिशन रहेंगी। शायद इस अगले कुछ एक महीने के भीतर ही, शायद अगले महीने भी संभव हो सकता है। उसके बाद अगले साल के आरंभ में एक अनमैन्ड लेकिन रोबो।
Let's now go across to the ISRO chief, the man of the moment, the man who led this fabulous team of scientists, S. Somnath, the head of the Indian Space Research Organization. This, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest moment of his life, and that of those of his teammates.
And all of you know it is not an easy task at all. It's a work of last so many years. Maybe for Chandrayaan-3 it's a work of last 4 years, but for Chandrayaan-2 that was a work of many years back. And the learning that we got from Chandrayaan-2 of our unsuccessful attempt to soft land has really helped us in perfecting the methodology, and also to have large number of experiments tests to prove the process of landing. Successful attempt to soft land has really helped us in perfecting the methodology, and also to have large number of experiments tests to prove the process of landing, and it has paid dividends today. And we had a very soft landing, and it actually achieved most of the nominal conditions for the landing, including the velocity of touchdown. In fact, I didn't get it exactly. Possibly my team will be able to tell them. The velocity was far less than 2 meters per second. It actually gives us a lot of confidence that the health of the craft will be very good. And we'll be able to continue with the experiments, including the Pragyan rover coming out and then doing all the experiments. So we are looking for very, very exciting 14 days from now for Chandrayaan-3. And as Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, it is not Chandrayaan-3 alone. It is for future scientific exploratory missions. This is the beginning of a golden era. That is a message I get from what our Prime Minister told. So we are looking for launch of Aditya L1 now next month, and also the launches of many other science missions, including the mission for the human spaceflight as well. So thanking each one of you for your support, and I cannot tell you the type of that excitement that is created in the whole of India. Every school child, every school, every village, every mohalla is excited by the showcasing of this landing videos and broadcast, and all of them are praying, having lot of pujas and homas and other methods of prayers suitable for each one of them for the success of this mission. And I want to thank each one of you for your excitement, your love for the nation, and for whatever we achieved today. It's all dedicated to yourself and for your courage and strength to support us. Thank you so much. ISRO is planning many missions in the coming days. Our immediate mission is Aditya L1, and Aditya L1 spacecraft is a mission to study the sun, especially the corona of the sun, the processes that take place. The satellite is called Aditya L1. It's already integrated and it has moved to Sriharikota, and possibly it will be integrated with a rocket maybe today, tomorrow. And we are planning to have a launch on the first week of September. Everything is going as per plan, and after the launch, and this launch will go to an elliptical orbit, and from that it will travel to the Lagrangian L1 point, which will take almost 120 days plus. It will be placed in that orbit, and it will do continuous observation of sun unobstructed by the sun, moon or earth. So that is what we are trying to do. There are 7 instruments on board Aditya L1. Now let me complete some more of the missions. The next mission which you are trying to do is the Gaganyaan abort mission demonstration using a test vehicle. For this also the preparations are very well going on. We are targeting to have it in the end of September or possibly first week of October. So everything is going as per plan. After that we have a GSLV mission for INSAT 3DS, the weather forecasting mission. We also have a mission in PSLV which is scheduled now. And we also have to have the SSLV D3 mission, which is the third development flight of SSLV. So this much is for a short time of next 3 months. And further years I should not announce at this moment because we are working very hard to achieve those targets. Thank you so much. अगले 14 दिन में हमारे ये रोवर है ना, विक्रम लैंडर की हेल्थ कंडीशंस हमको चेक करना है. इसके बाद rover, the Pragyan rover will come out. Pragyan rover will come out in next maybe a few hours. Sometimes it may take one day as well, depending upon the conditions. Then each of the instruments will be deployed. There are many instruments. There is an instrument called REMBA, which will be deploying to study the geophysical parameters of the regolith. Then there is an ILSA, which will measure the seismic activity. Then there is, REMBA is going to measure the atmosphere, the charged atmosphere of the moon. And there is a CHASTE, which is going to pierce on the surface of the moon and then measure the thermophysical properties of the regolith. Then we have a ILSA payload, which will be lowered from the moon craft, that is Vikram. It will be lowered using some ropes. It will touch the surface and measure the seismic activity on the moon. And once the Pragyan rover comes out, there will be two important experiments, and both of them are linked with the elemental composition and chemical composition of the surface of the moon. The first experiment will be using a laser beam. We will send a laser beam from the rover on the material. It will fuse it, and then it will generate some spectroscopic information which will identify elements there. Another experiment is related to an alpha particle which will be emitted by the radioactive material sitting there, and that will generate certain X-ray fluorescence on the surface, and that will be measured to find out the chemical composition. So these are the main experiments that are on board Chandrayaan-3 now. Shall I answer in English? Okay, so see, the most difficult part of the mission is to launch itself. See, the GSLV-3, you should not forget that GSLV-3, LVM-3 has done the job of putting it in the right orbit very first time. It went to 36,500 kilometers. From that, we did all that up to translunar injection. It worked very well and captured on the moon. So the first critical event is the launch. The second critical event is called the landing and capturing on the moon. If you miss it by your calculation, then we cannot mission. So this is the second critical mission. The third critical thing is called this separation of the lander and the orbiter, which happened at the appropriate time. This is again after so many days of spending in orbit, the mechanism has to work without any problem. So it worked very well. And the last critical moment is, of course, that you have watched along with us. That's it. I'll take it. You.
What is the success of Chandrayaan-3 mean for future space explorations?
Okay, success of Chandrayaan-3 meaning for the future exploration. I think it's all clear to you. I don't have to tell. See, when it is such a tough journey for going to moon and landing, soft landing, which is very difficult for any nation to achieve today, even with the advancement of technology, and we achieving it in just two missions. The first mission had a narrow miss, and now we achieved it so perfectly. It gives confidence to configure missions to not only going to moon, going to Mars, sometimes land on the Mars, maybe in the future going to Venus and other planets, and also sometimes go beyond asteroids and others. We should think about it. I think you should all support us to plan such missions with a very, very cost-effective mission. Nobody in the world can ever do like this what we do, and nobody will be able to succeed maybe in the minimum most attempts. So I request each one of your support, encouragement. The whole of the nation should be behind us to do. Mushkil tha. So we went through lot of pain, a lot of agony. I must tell you, the people behind Chandrayaan-2 are still there. They are part of the Chandrayaan-3 team. I think none of them you know today. Chandrayaan-2 is a senior reviewer of Chandrayaan-3, and most of the people who are in Chandrayaan-2 are with us, helping us to do the Chandrayaan-3. So they are part of this, and they have gone through such an agony of understanding what went wrong. It went about almost a year of thrashing them to find out and looking at the data so much. And the whole of this team, I don't think they would have slept very well in the last so many years. I think the credit goes to those people who have spent enough amount of time, but equal amount of time has been spent by our seniors, some of the retired colleagues who sat with them to find out how it can be improved. this time. So my salutations to all such people who have, those are unsung heroes today. They are not in the seat, but my congratulations to all such people.
Sir, Rajiv Mishra from Rajasthan Patrika. Sir, here. Hello, sir.
See, Honorable Prime Minister was kind enough to call me, and he connected my name to the Chandrayaan mission. Of course, I am very proud of that. And and he conveyed his greetings to all the scientists in ISRO for the wonderful work they did. Naturally, all of us are proud of that, as I mentioned earlier. And he is very clear about the long-term vision. He wants to make sure that we remain very, very dominant in the area of space exploration and science. It's important for the nation. He is so clear about the Amrit Kal when he was put forth. And we have presented him these ideas and concepts, and I'm very hopeful that he will be supporting us to continue these missions, exploratory missions, science missions, in addition to what is important for societal and commercial needs. Thank you. See, she is asking about the cost effectiveness of this mission, and I think I don't want to explain all the secrets, because if I tell the secrets, others will learn and they will become very cost effective.
Sir.
See, ISRO already strong.
Sir.
It will be.
Sir, Rajiv Mishra from Rajasthan Patrika. Rajiv Mishra, sir, hello. Sir, Rajiv, sir. Sir, here, sir, here. Sir, here.
See, we must also thank, I think there is a question on who all helped us to achieve this mission. And we must thank all those nations which came forth to help us in Chandrayaan-3 mission. We had support from USA, the NASA, the support from ESA, as well as our colleagues in other scientific organizations in this country. Especially the support came in form of ground stations, the tracking support. You know, from India alone, you cannot see the Chandrayaan-3 all the time. We need other ground stations. One in Australia helped us in Canberra, one in New Inertia helped us, one in UK helped us, and another in NASA's control. And all these ground stations were beaming the data to us, and we were able to get a lot of information, real-time information, and command uplink. Everything happened because of this. The second help came from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory of NASA, JPL, and they were also estimating the position of the Chandrayaan-3 very accurately using their technology and passing on the information to us, which gave us confidence to work on the mission design, trajectory design of the final phase of the mission. So thanks to all of them for their support.
Sir, सबसे पहले sir Rajiv Mishra here, sir here, sir here.
No, I wish to hand it over to my teammates.
Sir.
You can ask them the question.
Sir.
Please, one by one. Please, come.
सोमनाथ सर.
एक मिनट. कर देंगे. नहीं, comfortably. नहीं, आप लोगों के लिए है. कर देंगे.
सोमनाथ सर, सवाल सर, सोमनाथ सर. Sir, Somnath sir.
Please, mission director had to come. Please wait. Please patience. We definitely will give.
Yes, sir, Somnath sir. Sir.
Definitely video, photo. Don't restless.
Sir, here. Sir, मेरे दो सवाल है सर.
Now there is a question to me.
मेरे दो सवाल है सर.
There is a question to me about the technology strength of what we have done, and I must also tell you that the technology that we have in Chandrayaan-3 is no far less complex or inferior to any other technology that goes to the moon. So we have the best of the sensors of the world, the best in the class in the Chandrayaan-3. And I can tell you one story of Chandrayaan-2 to Chandrayaan-3. There is an instrument called the laser Doppler velocimeter was added in Chandrayaan-3, which was developed by one of the laboratory of ISRO. And this is a world-class instrument capable of measuring the velocity. And our cameras, which are put on board, developed by Space Applications Center Ahmedabad, gave those beautiful pictures from the moon. And the inertial system package, which measures the orientation velocity made by the ISRO Inertial System Center. And our rockets are one of the best that put it in the right orbit. And we will have engines and liquid propulsion made in India by LPSC, the Liquid Propulsion Center of ISRO. So It's a made in India craft. So the capability that we have today is as good as anybody.
सर सोमनाथ सर यहाँ पे सर यहाँ पे
We'll take some photos. Okay.
सर सोमनाथ सर सर
Somnath, the chief of the Isro, and just imagine his name means Lord of the Moon or Protector of the Moon. What are the chances, Shiv, that the man who leads Isro at this moment when we register our first successful landing on the surface of the moon is called Lord of the Moon or Protector of the Moon?
Amazing that his name means Protector of the Moon, but the real zinger there, and I know you caught it, Rahul, was when the journalists were haranguing him for answers. And he said, please don't force me to give too detailed answers. I don't want to reveal my secrets, and then everyone else will learn about how cost-effective we are. Rahul, just today, Elon Musk's tweet has gone viral, where he's talked about how the cost of Interstellar, the movie by Christopher Nolan, is actually more than the budget that was used by Isro for Chandrayaan-3. So Somnath is king. He's like a true rock star today. No. He's done what most people had written off as far as India's moon aspirations were concerned. There was in fact a theory that India might actually dump the Chandrayaan program entirely and move on to whatever comes next. He's the man on whose shoulders this has actually been proven right.
And Elon Musk's space company, SpaceX, is actually trying to build launch vehicles which are far bigger than anything that's been seen. They have a lot of money. So this is actually not just government, but even in India, with the whole space economy expanding in the way that it is, so many space tech firms getting involved, the effort to try and bring government and the private sector together. I want to go across to R. Madhavan. And the interesting thing is that we have Nambi Narayan joining us as well. R. Madhavan played the role of Nambi Narayan in rocketry. And so it's a bit of a magical moment. I have Madhavan on the phone. So Madhavan, welcome. You've done a bit of this in real on the big screen. What was it like to experience the Vikram landing on the moon?
There is not enough words to explain to you how I feel. Just the euphoria is intoxicating. I can't even begin to tell you. I have just been remotely involved with ISRO in terms of making a movie on Nambi Narayan sir, and I know the kind of pain and agony and anxiety they go through. But to recover from Chandrayaan-2 in such a short time, to correct all those mistakes and to make this graceful landing of Vikram on the satellite, on the moon, is nothing short of a miracle. And considering the amount of budget and the resources available to the ISRO scientists, this is actually a miracle. And my heart swells with pride. I just don't know what else to say.
No, but it's also brought about a lot of interest in science and technology. My 7-year-old son, ordinarily least interested in anything to do with outside dinosaurs and such, now suddenly very excited, trying to read up everything that he can, watch videos and try and learn as much as possible about this mission and about the moon and what lies beyond the earth, which is fascinating, I think.
Absolutely. And India has, that's what it's done in terms of, creating interest among the youth. We've leapfrogged their interest into knowing about space. You have to admit that space is the final frontier. Earlier on we used to say those who control the seas control the world, and then those who control the airspace control the world. Right now, space is going to be the place where dominance has to be set, and we need the youngsters to believe that there is a career there is excitement there, and there is a life to be followed as somebody involved with space travel. And I'm so glad that this has happened at the moment that the children are also getting so excited about it, and not to forget. Nambi Narayan sir's Vikas engine was instrumental in this launch as well, and it's never failed, an engine that has never failed, and this time too it has been successful, although a small part of the contribution, but yet an important one.
Okay, thanks Madhavan for joining us. We'll come back to you in just a moment. I'm also hoping for Nambi Narayanji to join us in just a few moments from now. We're trying to set that live link up for you. Rachingappa, what happens next? We're building this solar observatory Aditya. Can you give our viewers a sense of what to expect once the Aditya is up and running?
Well, there are two very exciting programs up. Immediately you're going to see Aditya, which is really observing the sun. We are sending this for the first time. It'll go about 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth, position itself.
Is that further from the moon or closer?
Further than the moon.
How much
Moon's only about 400,000 kilometers.
So it's thrice as far as the moon.
4 times the distance that you do. You position this orbiter that is there, and this has all the kind of instruments to start observing. You know, the sun is critical for us, and the surface of the sun, the chromosome, the corona, everything else. We will have our eye in the sky looking and observing and also recording what is happening to the sun. Very critical, accomplishment if that happens. The other thing that I think really is going to put us along with the big boys of space, as Chandrayaan has done, is the Gaganyaan mission. And as
So what does Gaganyaan do? Explain that.
Well, Gaganyaan is, for the first time, we'll be having our, sending our own people, our whole astronauts, right, a human into space.
When
we have
does
never
that
done
happen?
that. That should, I'd asked Dr. Somnath for a date, and I thought it would happen next year, but he says we're not timing it with anything. We are only going to make it perfect. This will be the first time that India will send someone into space by themselves. And one of the critical problems of doing that is we're great at building launchers, we're great at building satellites, we're also now great at building, a lander across the moon. But when it comes to putting humans in space, you have to create the kind of atmosphere that is there within that spacecraft so that people can exist for those 3-4 days.
We're doing that by ourselves or in collaboration with some countries?
Actually, what's happened is that most of it we're doing by ourselves. But if you notice, when we went, when Prime Minister Modi went to America, one of the projects that we signed on was Artemis project. Now, Artemis is NASA's project or US's project to bring human beings back to the moon, as America did so many years ago, 40 years ago. And part of that is the training for astronauts. So one of the things is one of our astronauts will go up in that so that we get the kind of training required for our own Gaganyaan thing, because it's a complex process, having astronauts moving around in space.
Of course.
So, and that's, I think, the two exciting projects
for our viewers
that are
that clip of Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking to S. Somnath, the chief of the Indian Space Research Organization. It's gone viral, and here it is.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India.
आपका तो नाम सोमनाथ और सोमनाथ नाम चंद्र से जुड़ा हुआ है, और इसलिए आज आपके परिवारजन भी बहुत आनंदित होंगे। मेरी तरफ से आपको, आपकी पूरी टीम को बहुत बहुत बधाई, और सबको मेरी तरफ से अभिनंदन कह दीजिए, और हो सके उतना जल्दी मैं आप सबको रूबरू में भी बधाई दूंगा। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और बहुत बहुत बधाई। ओके, नमस्कार। आपका तो नाम सोमनाथ और सोमनाथ नाम चंद्र से जुड़ा हुआ है, और इसलिए आज आपके परिवारजन भी बहुत आनंदित होंगे। मेरी तरफ से आपको, आपकी पूरी टीम को बहुत बहुत बधाई, और सबको मेरी तरफ से अभिनंदन कह दीजिए, और हो सके उतना जल्दी मैं आप सबको रूबरू में भी बधाई दूंगा। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और बहुत बहुत बधाई। ओके, नमस्कार।
I want to tell our viewers who are watching us live on India Today that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be landing straight in Bengaluru on Saturday morning. Early in the morning, around 6:30 is when he's supposed to land. 10:30 is when he'll be meeting Isro scientists. That isn't known yet, but we're breaking that to our viewers that he will be going straight, Shiv, from South Africa to Bengaluru. He was to speak at the B20 event in the capital at 10 a.m. on the 26th. That's now been pushed for lunch on the 27th because he'd rather be with the Isro scientists.
How's he going to how can anything compete with what Isro has pulled off today? And let's remember, Rahul, the things that you heard the Prime Minister just say. This is a man who has a personal connection now with Chandrayaan, whether he likes it or not. He was there personally. Those images of him with K7 went viral, consoling an Isro chief. Those are images that the country had never seen before. It was an emotional side of our scientists who tend to be completely behind the scenes. As Rahul said, Prime Minister will be landing on Saturday morning in Bengaluru, and we're waiting to hear, Rahul, what's going to happen in Bengaluru. Obviously, there's going to be a huge felicitation event. We're waiting to hear from India Today's Naga and Akshita about what ISRO is planning for that. But I imagine it's going to be a massive celebration because what India has achieved is huge. The Prime Minister knows it. I wonder whether he would have hoped that he could have been in Bengaluru this time as well. But he did the next best thing. He was there on video call. You saw how he got in just before the landing.
But also imagine this is the evening when he's in South Africa at the BRICS summit, Raj. You've got Xi Jinping there. You've got the other BRICS countries there. And Modi struts around, after ISRO has landed on the moon. And that's a big moment for the Prime Minister and for the people of this country in a global setting.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to be proud of. Of course, Xi Jinping will always tell Prime Minister Modi that we've been there before.
No, we're giving you competition.
We are giving
different ways of looking at it. We're the next.
But I think a couple of things need to be put down. Firstly, this is really a made in India project.
Yeah.
And Dr. Somnath said that. But if you look at what it is, it's just not made by government of India. There is a huge private sector industry that backs Indian space. That's one of the things that's happened.
Many
and
startups
also, very, very wisely, the Modi government has opened up now space to complete private competition.
Which is very different for our viewers
exactly
to know,
like we did
from the thinking which was in existence earlier, where it was seen as a strategic sector impacting national security, and you didn't want the private sector involved. So like ISRO and like NASA and in the US, you've now invited the private sector to come in.
And exactly the way Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos has been developing their own sort of space ambitions, we hope Indian private sector would do that.
Companies are much smaller and those are much bigger.
But they have a lead. Sure. They had a military industrial complex. They've been doing space big space for so many years. But I think what India has done is very cleverly moved into niche areas.
Yeah.
And secondly, India's, one of the things we must also compliment ISRO is that, look, this just hasn't happened overnight. It's just not Chandrayaan. ISRO has proved successful in building giant launchers. It's proved successful in satellites. It's now proved successful in having orbiters.
What does this moment mean for India? I want to go across live and exclusive at this time to one of India's most famous aerospace scientists. He was at ISRO, contributed very significantly to India's space program, developed the Vikas rocket engine, built the team, led the team that developed the polar satellite launch vehicle, the PSLV, on which the GSLV ultimately then got built. Nambi Narayan joins us. Many of you would know him as the inspiration behind the movie Rocketry, the Nambi Effect. We just had R. Madhavan with us on this broadcast. He was wrongly accused of being involved in illegal activities. Later, the case completely dismissed against him. He's seen success, he's seen hardship, and now he's seeing this massive moment of the Indian Space Research Organization landing successfully on the moon. Thank you very much, Nambi Narayan-ji, for joining us in India today. Many congratulations to you and to India's scientific community. Could you start by explaining to everyone the significance in that journey which you've seen from the PSLV to now, this moment when the Vikram has landed on the moon? How significant an achievement do you see this as being?
It's a long story. I feel it will be taking a lot of time. But let me try to be as brief as possible. I remember those days when I joined ISRO. One of the occasions which I can never forget is that I was carrying the Judy Dot payload, which looks like a small rocket, by the Kerala State Transport Corporation's bus, because we never had any vehicle. So from one place to another place, from a workshop which was fabricated there, and then carrying it to the Tumba rocket station. And of course, there are occasions where we carried these materials by bicycle and so on and so forth. That was one day. I'm talking about 1966 time frame. But then, step by step, we were struggling to make a 3 inches diameter solid rocket motor. That is one problem. Then a 600 kg. See, a 3-inch diameter rocket became later, today, a 3-meter diameter rocket. And a 600 kg liquid rocket has become a 60-tonner Vikas engine. Now that is a kind of development which took place. Now at this occasion, this is the long and short story of a development which take place over a period of 20-30 years. But then we are recalling, at least I as an individual who happened to work with the big stalwarts of ISRO, Dr. Sarabhai, who had dreamt of so many things. Unfortunately, he died very young, and that is a misfortune of not only ISRO but also the country. Then Dr. Satish Dhawan, who was instrumental for today's PSLV, GSLV programs, he is the one who had drawn the blueprint for these programs. And then Professor U.R. Rao, who gave life to this blueprint. And today you are getting all these hardwares due to the great service of Professor U.R. Rao. Now, this is the long and short story of ISRO. Okay. Now, the Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, these were attempted with a small rockets available with us, and the result was you had Chandrayaan-1 successful, Chandrayaan-2 was a failure. Now, today's Chandrayaan-3 we succeeded very greatly, and thanks to the hard work and intelligent work done by the ISRO team. Okay, I hope it is a
spend a moment,
way
Nambi Narayanji, talking about what happens next over the next few hours with the Pragyan coming out of the Vikram lander. Can you explain to everyone watching at this moment the kind of experiments that will be carried out, what we hope to achieve, and why what India is doing on the south pole of the moon is indeed so special?
Well, this is not a difficult job, but I'll tell you it is going to allow the whole dust to settle for about, I think it's about 3 to 4 hours or so. And then the lander, the Vikram, this will come out of the lander. That will roll down for a distance of about 100 meters. I don't remember those numbers. And it has its own experiments designated to it. But more frankly, let me tell you, I got completely overwhelmed by the fact that we had a soft landing, and that was the prime goal of today's launch. And after soft landing, what is happening is not really very exciting to me, in the sense that the main goal is achieved, and we are now talking about subsidiary goals. So let the subsidiary goals takes its own way of getting things done. So that's why I say that.
My colleague Shiv Arur has a question for you, yes. Dr. Narayan. Fine, Shiv.
Nambiji, you know, the scary part about the landing, which was weighing on everybody's mind, of course, was the memory of what had happened 4 years ago, with Chandrayaan-2. And, people tend to see these things as black and white, failure versus success, when it was actually the many lessons that were learned from Chandrayaan-2 that helped Chandrayaan-3 in many ways become fail-proof. Can you tell us a little bit about that process, sir? How would the team have looked at Chandrayaan-2 and made Chandrayaan-3 that much more successful?
Well, again, I will try to be brief. Chandrayaan-2 had, shall I say, some built-in problems, and one was a problem of the software, where if I tell you that it was there in the program that it had contradictory commands, and one is to say go, one is to say not go. Another problem was the stability margin, and the stability was not proper because we had a very stringent weight budget with respect to Chandrayaan-2's lander. Now, these are the two problems. Now, these two problems were addressed too, and there came handy the orbiter which was part of Chandrayaan-2 was still orbiting there with a life, which we never anticipated will be there when Chandrayaan-3 was being planned, but it has come, handy, which means we need not carry one more orbiter with us. So we were planning to use the present orbiter, and then we also gained some weight because we are not carrying that orbiter. So we wanted to make use of that weight gain in favor of us by adding some weight to the lander or making it more stable. So both the problems were solved, And then we also added some of the impossible things which you can dream of. Whether you need a redundancy, whether the health parameters are going to be okay with respect to one channel, or whether you need 2 channels, and one thruster is okay, or whether you need 2 thrusters, n number of things. We keep on imagining. I think ISRO team has spent a lot of time in imagining all the kind of failures, and then they have made the entire thing pakka. So the result is that I was talking to some people in ISRO. I personally believed that they never had any apprehension about the success of Chandrayaan-3. Of course, but like anybody else having written an exam and who will get a first rank, still will be under tension till he gets to know the result of it.
Okay, my
so
colleague,
that kind of
India Today's editor,
in my minds of all.
editorial director for publishing, Raj Chingappa, has a question for you. Raj.
Firstly, hello, Mr. Nambin Narayan. It's been a long time, Dr. Nambin Narayan, speaking to you. Always have great regard for you. And my question is this, very interestingly, in Chandrayaan-2, we had 5 thrusters guiding the lander. In Chandrayaan-3, we took off one of them, the middle one, and had 4 thrusters. And by the way, you build a lot of these liquid fuel engines yourself at some point, and these are derivatives of what you've done. How critical was that decision to take off the 5th engine and just keep 4?
Well, Raj Chingappa, I am very happy to meet you in this conversation. I don't know whether you recall on the occasion where we met in the court of law in Trivandrum. I don't know whether you remember that. And,
yes.
So that is the occasion I remember. And beforehand also we were working together for the Mahendragiri project.
Correct.
Wherein, we were talking about line-tailed monkeys and and of course the line-tailed monkeys vanished because the Mahendragiri name itself is a misnomer. The place where it is called Mahendragiri is not really Mahendragiri, it is Pothigai Malai. So there also I was clarifying your doubts. Then in the court we met, and then afterwards I got vanished in the different place, you got vanished in another place where we were not in touch with each other. It was a sweet memory, I am just recalling. But I don't know whether you ever thought of this guy who is in the court of law will ever be responsible for developing these kind of things and put ISRO into a good shape. I don't know, but anyway, honestly, the decision to make the thrusters, these things were designed, failure modes were analyzed, and we had a weight budget, they had a weight budget. I should say I always identify myself with ISRO even today. So they had a weight budget, within that they have to play around, and then they had required margins for this. So it was not a difficult decision to make, but they checked everything and then they took a decision. But anyway, Raj Chingappa, I am very happy having met and talked to you in this occasion.
And happy to see you too, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Old friends who've crossed paths.
I'm a regular reader.
One of them, from in ISRO, the other tracking all those stories, trying to get more stories. So very nice to see this interaction between Nambin Narayan and Raj Chingappa. Incredible. I can imagine you go back many years and you've tracked the entire path of his career.
Yes, and watched him actually build the liquid fuel engine, the Vikas, which did us proud, which is the mainstay for all our major launches today. We did have a sort of talks of
30 years,
but that's an old story.
Nambiji, what do you think India did right this time? Because the Israelis tried this, the Japanese did, the Russian Lunar 25 tried to land as well in the south pole of the moon. They didn't succeed. What did India do different which has led to this massive global success?
I have an answer, but I don't know whether you will buy that answer.
Please, tell us your answer.
I will tell you the failure of course I am not enjoying the failure, but the failure of these countries which you mentioned could be because of their overconfidence on their own ability. And the success for the Indian mission is because of our carefulness in analyzing the whole thing and making sure that This time we must win. There is a win-win. Winning is the only way to survive. So that is the only answer. But I can tell you, I see. Okay, apart from that, let me tell you a general answer that anything can happen in space. A small mistake can happen, which will be. See, for example, you count some 100 currencies. Every time you count that 100 currencies are still there, but you will count as 99. And you don't know how this 99 comes in the picture. Now, this will be oversight, honestly. But similar mistake even can cause tremendous damage to your situation. So that is the only explanation I can give you. So one is overconfidence, another one is extreme carefulness.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nambi Narayan, for joining us. Thank you for everything you've done for India over the years in this space odyssey. It's an absolute pleasure to have had you with us. Thank you, sir. You know, the incredible thing, Raj, was the sheer confidence of Team Isro. Each time we'd speak to anybody, you know, we're not men of science, far from. We'd be okay. They hope to succeed, we hope to succeed, but there's always that chance of failure. But just the sheer self-belief, not as a tukka, not, you know, just in a manner of saying, but based on the work that they had done tirelessly behind the scenes post the failure of Chandrayaan-2 to ensure that this time in their heads they were confident that success will happen.
You know, I think one of the mottos of Isro, which Dr. Kalam, APJ Kalam said, was that failure is a stepping stone to success. And Kalam said that in a particular context which he narrated to me, which was in 1979 when he was in charge of India's first satellite launch vehicle that crashed into the Bay of Bengal. Dr. Kalam put in his resignation saying, I don't want to be because I failed. And that time Satish Dhawan was the chairman and Brahm Prakash his director. And he said, Kalam, he tore his resignation and said, get back to work. You'll succeed. And Dr. Kalam told me that because of that episode, they went into each aspect of launch vehicle building and succeeded. Now, why I'm narrating that is, it's a very similar process that happened when Chandrayaan-2 failed. What the scientists then did was that they stripped every single thing. You have three major components, which is propulsion, which thrusts the orbiter around the moon as well as then makes it land. You have your guidance systems that then bring it down, as we saw, and a control mechanism. Each of these had problems in Chandrayaan-2. So they sorted it out. Now, when it came to the engines, for instance, they found that there was a greater thrust. So what they did was there was a valve. You know, this is all liquid fuel. And because it was, opened a little more, there was a problem of it. So they introduced what is called a sluggish way of allowing the fuel to go, and they controlled it. And they built redundancies. So at every step, when the software was a problem, they said, okay, let's get 3 or 4 other things that will ensure that there wouldn't be a problem. And the same thing with the control systems, where they said that they had a hazard camera. If, for instance, when they're hovering, they finally are vertical above there, they noticed there was a boulder, they could move that and go and land at another place. And what Nambi Narayan was saying, when he talked of weight, they actually carried more fuel on this. 200 kgs more was the weight of this Chandrayaan-3 versus the other one.
200 kgs can keep you going for how long?
Because you see, what happens is, it's just like this. If you have money and you run out of your bank balance, right, becomes zero. What happened in Chandrayaan-2 was they had limited fuel. So once the decision, critical decision, where there's an error that is building, it didn't have enough fuel to complete its mission because it decided, okay, we have this much, so I'll only go like this, and then it crashed. Okay. What Chandrayaan-3 had was enough propellant in case there was a problem that they could turn directions, move in the way that they wanted to, and that's why they were so confident.
Confidence is just so inspiring. I want to go across live to the BRICS Summit venue. Joining us from there is Peter Van Nelson. He's reporting for India today on this massive summit that's happening. You know, the focus, of course, was on the BRICS agenda. In the midst of all of this, Peter, India has gone and landed the Chandrayaan on the surface of the moon. The Prime Minister came very briefly to congratulate the people of this country and the scientific community for this massive achievement. Could you give our viewers a sense of what's happening at BRICS right now? We can quite imagine India being the toast of the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. What an historic day. I mean, everyone is just, I don't want to sound a touche, but over the moon here in South Africa. And I think the Prime Minister may have well timed that perfectly because he did address a summit this morning around 11 o'clock local time. And he actually there was no coincidence that he did mention a possibility of a BRICS space exploration at some point, which was possibly he had in the back of his mind that may have been a successful landing. He was also speaking about a BRICS satellite, as well as more space research done, weather monitoring as well, all through the BRICS blocks. So he then was shifted off from that meeting, and he went and found a secluded space just opposite the Santon Convention Center. We're about 5 minutes away from there now, and he found his place, and he watched it live, and it really was, you could see the glow in his face. He's had a pretty tough time. He must be pretty tired. He's been traveling a lot. He's been attending a lot of meetings. He was at a BRICS leaders breakaway last night, or probably quite late last night, and then tonight as well. He's got a big banquet at the Gallagher Convention Center as well. So it's been a busy time, but no doubt he is going to be the toaster of the evening. There have been a couple of Russian explorations that have failed, so no doubt he'll be having a few words with his counterparts. So it's very, very exciting.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you expect the Prime Minister to be tired. People in India have been wondering for a very long time, and not just does he finish his big BRICS Jamboree, lands straight in Bengaluru, meets these scientists, he has all the B20, G20 work the next day. So this is quite literally non-stop, and that's just the way the man is.
I guess he's a pretty fit man. He's got to jump on a plane tomorrow evening, as well as he's heading to Greece, as we understand it, for another state visit there, another possibly late night for him tonight. But I guess it's instances like this and events like this that will just give him an extra step in an extra boost for this trip. We know there's a lot of hype around whether he will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
So is that happening? It'll be nice. Soon after landing on the moon, it'll be nice to meet Xi, because China is the last country there is to be a nice moment to be meeting with Xi Jinping.
Exactly, considering that they also had a few failed attempts to land on the moon. So it will be a very interesting evening. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in this banquet this evening, because I think that his team has been desperately trying to meet up with the Chinese delegation that are here. But as it stands now, no such luck. He's got another busy morning tomorrow morning. He's got bilaterals with a number of African countries. According to his schedule, there are a couple of bilaterals, but no country specifically has been given. So perhaps they'll shove it in there, who knows? But certainly he'll be buoyed on such an amazing day, both for India as well as for the world.
Peter, thank you for joining us. Keep up your fantastic reportage. We'll come back to you for more just later. And yes, India is absolutely over the moon. Raj Chingappa, what does it mean for a moment if that Modi-Xi meeting doesn't happen? Not that it matters ordinarily, but she's supposed to be in India in the beginning of September for the G20 summit. They're together at the BRICS summit. We've had Major General level talks. Before that, we had co-commander level talks. If for some reason the back-end work isn't in order and that meeting doesn't happen, what does that mean then?
Well, I think they would, we've simultaneously having our armed forces in engagement to see if there can be some sort of disengagement happening up.
Limited disengagement.
Limited disengagement. So my sense is that Xi Jinping enjoys multilateral forums. He would like to assert China's supremacy. And this is an occasion where I would gather that he would have a dialogue with the Prime Minister, because it's BRICS at this moment. Maybe not the kind that we would expect, but there'd certainly be an exchange, because when he comes to India, he has a certain agenda as well. And the fact that India is, as we've seen, emerging as one of the countries that is balancing the forces, and USA has come closer to India because of that. We are friends with Russia, a very key player in a lot of these things. And she understands that in some senses, China is being encircled by other nations, the entire American buildup that is there. So it will be in his interest to have some discussion with India on this matter.
Okay. We're joined at this moment by Dr. Yogesh Vadedkar, Associate Professor at the National Center for Radio Astrophysics in Pune. Yogesh ji, can you give your sense of what this moment meant for you, the landing of the Chandrayaan, and more importantly, what do you expect happening over the next 14 days?
I think this is a most incredible moment in the history of space exploration, and even more so in the history of ISRO space exploration. As all of you are aware, this is for the first time that any country has been able to conduct a soft landing on a very, very mountainous and difficult part of the moon. So I think it's a very, very dramatic achievement. I'd like to congratulate the entire ISRO team for what they've done. Over the next 14 days, when, unlike the Earth, where we have sunrise every 24 hours, on the moon, the sunrise happens every 14 days. And so the sun has just risen on the part of the moon where the lander has landed. And there for the next 14 days, we are going to have continuous daylight. And that means that the solar-powered rover will be able to go around and explore the moon. Both the lander and the rover are equipped with some advanced scientific instruments. For example, the rover is equipped with 2 spectrometers. These spectrometers allow us to carry out a detailed analysis of the chemical composition of the moon's surface. We'll be able to figure out what are the exact minerals that are there in the crust of the moon. We'll be able to figure out how much water there is. And of course, we expect whatever water there is to be in frozen form. But we'll get a very, very accurate estimate of the chemical composition of a part of the moon that has never been directly visited before. Other parts of the moon, for example, the flatter parts near the equator where the Apollo missions landed, already have moon rocks and other information. But for the first time, we'll get accurate information about the polar regions. I'm really excited about what the next 14 days are going to reveal.
It also, in the quest of India, reshaping the global world order, Raj, it's not just economic power with India likely to become the 3rd largest economy over the next 5 years, Absolutely. Even though the government is hoping for 2027. ISRO landing, all of this contributes together in just raising the esteem of our country in the eye of the global community.
Yeah, let's not forget that we are only the 4th country to have landed a craft on the moon. I mean, that's a tremendous achievement by itself. Okay, and the fact is that by signing the Artemis Agreement with US, there are 27 countries, and India is one of them that's going to do it. That puts us into the league of actually the future of space is being drawn by the Artemis project. Because the Artemis project says we will put humans back on the moon by 2025, and we will then go beyond. We'll use it as a lunar gateway that will then explore other planets that's there. And why is that important? Because climate change is impacting us. We know that we need to find other places that we may have to, at some point, not immediately, right, 50, 60 years away, maybe if the climate gets too hot, let's find another place that we can park ourselves in. And so exploration of this kind is very critical. And let's not also forget the minerals that are available over there. Despite
what
the
kind
moon,
of minerals do you find on the moon? In this patch, in the south pole?
There is a lot of things in terms of helium they talk about. Helium is a great fuel for us. So supposing you want to do a mission from the moon, using moon as the gateway, because moon has no gravity, so you don't have to put heavy lift, spacecraft over there. You build a colony over there, you create your fuel, you can then have this lunar gateway, which is like the International Space Station. This goes and fills up those things, and therefore you save all this money and, boosting capability. For instance, if you have to explore Mars, it takes 6 months to go to Mars. You have to have the human capability and endurance to do that kind of thing. With the moon mission, you could send things with less...
India doesn't have a spaceship that can go all the way till Mars.
It did do the Mangalyaan, right? We did have an orbiter that landed over there and actually very successfully on its first trip orbited the Mars, and we have another Mangalyaan being proposed to go over there. So India, and let's not forget, Mars is at the other end. If the sun is like 150 million miles from us, Mars is like 250 miles. So we did actually send a spacecraft over there, it, orbited it, and came right back with a lot of data that's there. So highly creditable to Indian science and space that is there. But the larger point that you're doing is, having explored land, having explored the ocean, having explored whatever is there on the Earth, the next big frontier has always been space, and we need to dominate that
Straight
as well.
from our animation studios at the India Today Mediaplex, we have this new video coming out. This is a tribute to India's achievement landing the Chandrayaan on the moon. So I'm going to see it with you for the first time, and here it is. So sorry, saluting the Chandrayaan.
So sorry.
ग्रेविटी जीरो यहाँ, इंडिया हीरो यहाँ, हम ही स्टार हैं, सभी बेकार है, साउथ पोल पे कोई आया ही नहीं है, सच तो ये जान लो। We are the best, we are the best, we are the best, we are the best, we are the best. Yes, we are best. दोस्तों ये चंद्रयान है, ये नंबर 1 है, यही शान है, तेज है, बड़ा स्मार्ट है, ये तो विज्ञान का बड़ा कमाल है। अरे भाई वाह, ये तो हिट है बजट कम में, ये तो फिट है, अरे भाई वाह, ये तो नंबर 1 है। कोई यहाँ लैंड किया, कोई वहाँ लैंड किया, किसी की मेहनत पे पानी फिर गया, साउथ पोल में कोई आया ही नहीं है, सच तो ये जान लो। We are the best, we are the best, we are the best. Yes, we are best. We are the best, we are the best, we are the best. Yes, we are best. लैंड हो गया चंद्रयान, मेरा भारत महान।
हमारे वैज्ञानिक साथियों ने भी कहा, इंडिया इज नाउ ऑन द मून। आज हम अंतरिक्ष में नए भारत की नई उड़ान के साक्षी बने हैं। आपका तो नाम सोमनाथ, और सोमनाथ नाम चंद्र से जुड़ा हुआ है, और इसलिए आज आपके परिवारजन भी बहुत आनंदित होंगे। मेरी तरफ से आपको, आपकी पूरी टीम को बहुत बहुत बधाई, और सबको मेरी तरफ से अभिनंदन कह दीजिए, और हो सके उतना जल्दी मैं आप सबको रूबरू में भी बधाई दूंगा। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और बहुत बहुत बधाई। ओके, नमस्कार। मैं टीम चंद्रयान को, इसरो को और देश के सभी वैज्ञानिकों को जी जान से बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, जिन्होंने इस पल के लिए वर्षों तक इतना परिश्रम किया है। उत्साह, उमंग, आनंद और भावुकता से भरे इस अद्भुत पल के लिए मैं 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को भी कोटि कोटि बधाइयां देता हूं। मेरे परिवारजनों, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों के परिश्रम और प्रतिभा से भारत चंद्रमा के उस दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर पहुंचा है, जहां आज तक दुनिया का कोई भी देश नहीं पहुंच सका। अब आज के बाद से चांद से जुड़े मिथक बदल जाएंगे, कथानक भी बदल जाएंगे, और नई पीढ़ी के लिए कहावतें भी बदल जाएगी। भारत में तो हम सभी लोग धरती को मां कहते हैं और चांद को मामा बुलाते हैं। कभी कहा जाता था चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं, चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं। अब एक दिन वो भी आएगा जब बच्चे कहा करेंगे चंदा मामा बस एक टूर के हैं।
I like the Prime Minister's play with words. Chanda Mama ab tour ke hain. You can just tour the moon and come back rather than dur ke hain in terms of how far it is. I want to go across to Y.S. Rajan, iconic Isro scientist, Padma Shri awardee, very close associate of former Indian President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajan, for joining us. It was an absolute delight to have you with us in the build-up yesterday. You were exuding confidence, as was the Indian scientific community. And now, you know, the Chandrayaan has landed successfully. Just take me through what was going through your head as you were in those last 15 minutes being described as the 15 minutes of terror, seeing the Chandrayaan descent on the surface of the moon.
That was a great moment for me when it was announced that the decision was taken to start the descending process. That itself, at that time, I knew we are going to make it. If you recall, I always was saying that it is going to be exceedingly likely that it will be a success. I am a very cautious person. Having been in Isro, having had a lot of things with NASA, variety of other things, we are always skeptical of something. Something can go wrong. That is why I never said 100%, because one should not say it. But I have looked at the details one has to look at. The variety of details which has been done from Chandrayaan-2 to Chandrayaan-3, so many changes to the spacecraft, hardware and things like that. In addition, Chandrayaan has given a lot of valuable information about the terrain. So therefore, they can broaden the area of this thing. So with all these put together, I was confident. But still, one always thinks, God, let it be. And when I heard that it is soft landed, oh God, what an amount of flow of this one which took place, because more than anything else, before that in quite a few channels, children were shown from Jammu to other things. For them, ho gaya. They were thinking that it will be, after all, young people, confident that it will be done. Then I was thinking in my mind, on one side, happy tears that these things fellows have come. But now I am so happy for their India is going to be great. And I also want to use this opportunity, which I told somewhere else, is that the girls particularly should note, in this Chandrayaan team, which made it, lot of women were there. You may not have seen all of them. Out of the 3,000, many more will be there. Even one of the important leader was a woman. So you people also have got a lot of chance in space. Not only in Isro, there is a lot of private sector which is opening up.
Oh, absolutely.
Second, the young children who are all there with all full vigor, some of them will be having a human habitat, will be a part of the human habitat in the moon, maybe 15, 20 years from now. That they will all be young. They will be very eligible for going there. Some of them will go. Maybe if not those children who are shown, there will be so many other children who have watched it and other things. That made me happy. For me, 1964, ISRO's journey, we went through several things and we are given a lot of applications which are useful for the country. This TV or telecom or cyclone warning, which has reduced the Andhra cyclone, 1977, was 10,000 people died. But after INSAT came, do you hear about, yes, cyclones will be there, we can't stop it. But do you hear about any cyclonic death? It's not, because they are able to give an advance beforehand.
Sure.
People can evaluate.
My colleague Shiv Arur has a question for you, Dr. Rajan. Shiv.
Dr. Rajan, you know, everyone is curious about what happens next. You know, now we've become very, very impatient. We've seen how beautifully, like clockwork, the landing has been executed. Now we're very impatient to see what happens next. We've just been told the Pragyan rover will roll out maybe in the next 3 to 4 hours. And after that, hopefully we'll get those first, highly anticipated images from the moon's surface. Those will be the first images from the south pole of the moon, sir.
Yes, see the Pragyan coming out will be, I think it is there also the chances are very, very high that something will not go wrong. Because the soft landing was the most critical one. Now this fellow will open it, they will carefully do that. And then once that comes out, we will have added lot of data, which will be that human habitat, what I said. For that, it will be not only water, magnesium, there's so many things those two sensors do. They will drill it, and then one laser push the gases out. So those things will come. In fact, I'm waiting for it. But this itself was one of the most critical, because I was telling somewhere else, the riskiest space business itself is riskiest. In fact, English has to invent many more words of riskiest type of thing. So that is the type of thing which has gone through. After he says that I had taken a decision to go down, you know what it is? There is no going back. Even itself, it came to the 28 itself, no going back. How many times you can do? Maybe some few more days. But that one is no going back. And that is the type of thing. But they were confident, doing so many things because they have taken each and everything, so many things, possible scenario, this scenario, that scenario, and all that. And that is what all space is about. We always say, what if this fails? What if this fails? That is the way review takes place. Oh God, the way the reviews will be taking place in the design, and I have participated in many of them. I've also asked questions. Oh, it is terrible. In fact, one of the person told, you'll make them almost, you'll feel terrible when the fellows ask that difficult questions. So that is the type of thing they have gone through, but that has helped them quite a bit.
Dr. Rajan, Raj Chingappa has a question for you. Raj.
Okay,
Dr. Rajan, good to see you. It's been a long time, and greetings. You're still very sharp and continue to dominate the field that you've always specialized in and accomplished plenty. I have a question for you. If you've held various positions, key positions in ISRO. If you had to lay a plan for what ISRO should be doing beyond Chandrayaan-3 and in terms of what we should be doing on the moon, what would that be? What would you advise India to be doing?
See, it has to do some more in terms of moon mission themselves. But before that, the Bahubali, for us it was a Bahubali, but it is not enough. If you just see whether it is NASA or Russia, they went in few days. NASA went in about 7 or 8 or 10 days. So that was because we took this long path because our lifting capability is not to that point yet. This is something we have to remember. So we need to get simultaneously that lifting capability. Now the Gaganyaan which will come, which will give the human rating capability, that itself is limited with this. If that big one comes, they will be able to do more. But in the meanwhile, there are other exploratory things, but they have to have a Luna 4, Luna 5, etc. with a little more. Maybe after 5 years, maybe after 6 years, with a little more things, and then be able to go lift it. That is one.
So describe for our viewers, sir, our efforts to try and enhance our lift capabilities, to try and have bigger rockets going up. The Americans, even what Elon Musk is doing, NASA seem to have more capability there. Where are we in that race of having bigger launch vehicles?
See, there are plans for it. As you all know, there were some setbacks. The PSLV, as we call it as work cars. That is what we used even for Mars program, even though it is not supposed to be done for that. But GSLVs, we had some problems. Some in the bottom, some in the cryo, etc., etc. Now, your good news is, this one which has gone is 7th consecutive success. And that makes it 7 means it is quite good. Insurance, when it is does big satellites, etc., insurance will come down because now they have a confidence on it. And if this also going, the insurers will think, oh, okay, these guys can do it. When they say they can do it, they have got a reliability. So these things having come, they will have to do, and it is not very difficult once this is achieved. That is this Bahubali type of thing, and then these things being done. It is not difficult because it has to be enhanced. And when I say not difficult, means for those guys.
Okay.
If you tell me to go and design all this, it will be a tough job. But they will do it. And then in addition, since the private sector has been opened up, foreign investments are all open up. Some of them can even be joined to do these things. So
No,
that you
but tell
can
me, has the private sector contributed anything of genuine value addition? I've seen some exciting new projects. We've profiled those in our group, but something which ISRO wasn't being able to do, which really is one step ahead of the ISRO curve.
No, not yet. They can't do it. And these things don't come in a zippy. These capabilities of what ISRO did, what it made under its guidance, the many subcontractors. Please note, it is not done in the backyard of ISRO. More than about 60 to 70% they are outsourcing from our industries itself. But it is under the ISRO design, ISRO guidance, etc., etc. Now, to do by our own this thing, what first the private sector will do will be on some small items. One sensor I am improving. They may get a know-how even from ISRO or somewhere outside. Another important thing is they will make a lot of money downstream. That is where they are meant for. Now, if you see, people would have, in all this excitement, people would have not noticed one full, I think GSAT-24 or something, one full satellite is owned by Tata Sky. Earlier, give me one transponder, give me 2 transponders, like that, they have to go to ISRO. Now, they have got your own full. Like this, not that they built it, they got it from ISRO or somewhere else, I don't remember. I think it is from ISRO because GSAT name comes. But in other words, they will start using this. So in some ways, ISRO's operational chores, CHORES, will go down. They will therefore be able to concentrate on many more things. And then you said about the SpaceX and all. To do like SpaceX, I think our own industry to raise to that level, Elon Musk is something uniquely different. But for Elon Musk himself has told, it's not he alone. It is the capability built within USA for so long. So like this, we need to build up many of these capabilities. See now, one young startup did one rocket. Everybody said, oh, very good. Then I checked up what it is. He has taken most of it from what ISRO has already got productionized by some industries. But it itself is a great job. So this will take time. One cannot do like that.
Sure, of course.
It takes time. It takes time. It will be 10 years from now. If I'm still alive, if you ask me this question, say yes, probably yes, we have done it.
But it's a step in the right direction, and that's most important. I want to go across straight to S. Somnath, the ISRO chief. He's in conversation with my colleague Rahul Gautam. Rahul, take it away. Here is the ISRO chief speaking exclusive to the India Today group.
First of all, congratulations for this feat, for making everybody proud, sir. Sir, what is your first reaction, sir, for this great achievement, sir?
My first reactions are already over. Now you can give that 100th reaction.
but how challenging it was from the day one, sir, when you started working on this mission, sir?
So that you start describing, it will be a big story. So what I will tell you is the lessons from the failure we learned and corrected it.
Okay. And what can we expect it from now, sir? Since we have landed safely there.
See, further 14 days of work of conducting all the experiments. We have 3 instruments on the lander and 2 on the rover. So all of them have to be switched on, and we have to do all the measurements. That will continue for the remaining 14 days. And based on that, we'll take a decision on, we can go up to 14 days and see how we can get enough of data at this moment. So that is the whole concentration.
So everybody is giving credit to you. Whom would you like to give credit to for this enormous and this historic achievement, sir?
So it's a contribution of so many people across ISRO centers, lasting so many years. So we should dedicate the whole of this to the scientific community of ISRO.
सर दो सवाल हिंदी में प्लीज। सर आप इतनी बड़ी जो ये मोमेंट आया है उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं, कैसे डिस्क्राइब करेंगे, क्या था आपके मन में सर जब पूरा चल रहा था?
ये हमारे एक वाटरशेड मोमेंट है। हमने ये जो फेलियर फेस किया है चंद्रयान-2 में, इसको ओवरकम किया है। अब लैंडिंग तो बहुत पक्का था, ऑन द डॉट। तो इसके बारे में हमको कई इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स और साइंटिफिक एक्सपेरिमेंट्स को कर सकूंगा, या रिमेनिंग 14 डेज में हमको ये सब इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स को स्विच ऑन करके टेस्ट करके as much as data that we can collect हमको कलेक्ट कर पाएगा।
सर जो वो 17 मिनट्स का जो वो ब्लैकआउट पीरियड था, तब आपके मन में क्या था? यू वर नर्वस और यू वर कॉन्फिडेंट दैट वी गोइंग टू लैंड सेफली?
Sure. You are not seeing any of us worried, no?
No, absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
तो अब आपके मन में क्या था?
Thank you.
लास्ट क्वेश्चन, आप किसको देना चाहेंगे सर इसका क्रेडिट पूरा का पूरा सर?
मैंने बोला था ना, तो हम तो देंगे इसरो के साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी को।
And remember, there are messages from prominent Indians coming in from all across the country and all across the world. In fact, we're very happy to be joined now by Sri Ravi Shankar, one of India's most well-regarded and well-known spiritual leaders. Ravi Shankar ji, thank you very much for being with us here on India Today. Your thoughts, your sentiments on this wonderful day for the country, sir, and ISRO's amazing achievement. What's your message?
Yes, it's such a proud moment, not just for Indians, but the entire humanity, that we could succeed in getting onto the moon. Here I am in America and see people have made beautiful cake here to cut the cake for the ISRO scientists, and there's a mood of celebration everywhere. People are so happy, and let me congratulate all the scientists and especially the chief of ISRO, Mr. Somnathji. I had a word with him yesterday or so. He was coming back from the temple. And, the prayers and the effort both has made this possible. I said human effort, of course, is needed, but you also need the divine intervention to help us to, be successful in our mission. And so this is such a moment of gratefulness for the scientists and for the whole population for having such great achievement. Yes.
And Ravi Shankar ji, since you spoke about divine intervention, you're right, because throughout the day, from early this morning, we've seen puja, namaz, prayers, across faiths, across communities, across religions, across different parts of the country, places of worship, people thronging there, completely of their own volition. It was not stage managed. The public was coming together to pray for the success of Chandrayaan. What do you make of that, sir? I don't think anybody has seen this kind of public participation and a sense of belonging in this program.
Yeah, I mean, because it has never happened before, no, like this, that we have been going to moon in such a, the third attempt has been is something that everybody was looking forward, and we have been very successful with the Mangal, journey to Mangal. Now moon, Venus will also come, and other planets. Of
also
course,
the sun, yeah.
India is quite capable of doing that, and we have जो प्रयत्न और प्रार्थना दोनों साथ में लेके चलना है. The scientists do the effort, and the public pray for their success. Yes.
And the well-wishers of the scientists were all there on full display today. So I thank you, Sri Ravi Shankar ji, for your message to all Indians, to the ISRO scientists, because they truly are the heroes today. They sorted out the science, the spirituality, the invocations of divine intervention. That was the job of, so many Indians from across the country. And it was really beautiful to see. Faith is a personal issue, but today it was completely out in public. Indians united with folded hands today to pray for ISRO. And clearly, the science and the spirituality has worked. Shri Ravi Shankarji, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Enjoy the rest of your stay there in the United States. The Prime Minister of India will be landing in Bengaluru this weekend. Remember, his schedule has changed. He's going to be landing in Bengaluru, and then he's going to be meeting the team from Isro, the team from Chandrayaan. He's going to be spending the entire day there interacting with them. In a few short moments from now, we'll have more information about what the agenda there is. But to bring Raj Chengappa back into this conversation, Mr. Chengappa, the night isn't over. You know, I'm sure the people at ISRO, the men and women at ISRO, will have maybe an hour or two to exhale, stretch their legs and arms a little bit, hug each other. We saw those happy faces there. But obviously the core team is not going to be able to get any rest tonight, at least. Absolutely. They'll have to monitor everything, and plus a 14-day experiment means it's a very, very short period of time, and they're going to want to pack as much as they possibly can into it.
Yes, I think the first thing they'll do, I mean, after having successfully soft landed on the moon, is to ensure that all systems are go, because there is when it lands, there's a lot of jarring that's happening. So they have to test these multiple systems. There are about 100 subsystems that need to be tested, including the fact that you're going to now allow the rover to roll down from its womb. So there also, everything that goes with it has to be tested. The power has to be tested. The entire system, whether it's working. And let's not forget, not only is the rover supposed to roll out in a couple of hours, where once the dust settles, because the moon's gravity doesn't allow the dust to settle quickly. So once it lands, the regolith just flies around and hangs about for about a couple of hours. So once that's completely down, then they will check all systems go. Then they will start opening the rover, plans for that. Maybe it might take 6-8 hours, depends on their confidence levels, and pull out the rover. The rover's, as you know, about 3 feet by 3 feet. It's a very interesting sort of thing. It has its own solar panel. It communicates with the lander. And apart from that, the lander itself has 4 or 5 scientific instruments. So in the next 14 days, what they would do is, because this is an area that has not been studied, you have a spacecraft land. So beyond just the landing, you will study, for instance, whether, water ice that we talked about. The moon has no atmosphere, but yet it has temperature. So one of the probes is to find out that. The other one, which is very interesting, is, seismic activity in the moon. Because if you're going to put a colony in the moon or put any structure over there, what is the kind of vibrations that happen? What is the kind of seismic activity? One of the probes actually do that. And apart from that, the temperature variations. If we know what the temperature is on the surface, so one of the probes is going to go a couple of feet deep to check out what is the temperature on the surface and the temperature below that. What is this temperature difference? So
how does the temperature on the surface of the moon compare with the Earth?
Firstly, look, the temperatures can go to 127 degrees. Okay, that's above the boiling point, centigrade I'm talking about.
On the South Pole or on the equator?
Wherever. Okay?
Even on the South Pole?
Even on the South Pole, yes. What happens is that...
there's not so much sun there, how does it
what happens is that the sun slants over there. You see, because the moon is rotating at a certain speed, the same face of the moon always... the Earth gets to see. Otherwise, you would have seen the dark side of the moon, as they call it. Right? So there's always a dark side of the moon. But because of the heat of the sun and also the cold, once the sun goes, after 14 days, it sets, right? The temperatures can drop to minus 170 degrees Celsius.
There's no atmosphere to trap the heat.
Correct. And Antarctica is about minus 70 degrees. So you're twice the thing. So what happens is, if you do not have a
so it can get twice as hot and twice as cold.
Absolutely. And so this tremendous variation means that you must put in equipment. If you're wanting it to survive beyond one lunar day, which is 14 to 15 days, you need to build in, firstly, a heater. So one of the plans that the Artemis project has is to actually possibly have a fission reactor sitting there, a nuclear fission reactor, to generate heat. So that if you're going to be living there, you would have the kind of heat that you could survive, air conditioning as well, plus the structure.
Where will the fuel for that come from?
It will be a nuclear fuel. I mean, you would transport it over there, just like you're building a thing. There's, of course, a lot of concerns about putting anything nuclear up front over there. There's a huge debate across space communities as to whether we should be putting anything there. And tomorrow, if there's an accident, what happens? Your containment and other issues that's there. So, but these are plans. How would you keep heat going there? What will be the kind of fuel that you would use? These are all plans that we need to look ahead at.
Okay. So the Tiranga flies proud on the moon tonight. India, the first country in the world to land successfully on the lunar South Pole. Make no mistake, this makes India a major global space power. Isro has shown the world how it's done.
On the cusp of witnessing a celestial feat, India poised to create history on the moon. The countdown has begun. Hearts beat in unison at ISRO's command center in Bengaluru. India's brightest minds guide Chandrayaan-3 on its journey to the moon's enigmatic South Pole. 7, 6, 5, and here you go. India embraces the moon.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल
Chandrayaan-3 touches down the south pole of the lunar surface.
बहुत ही गर्व की बात है. हिंदी में एक कहावत है कि चंदा मामा दूर के, लेकिन अब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि चंदा मामा अपने घर के.
And India's spirit reaches for the stars.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir, I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों, जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है. हमने धरती पर संकल्प लिया और चांद पर उसे साकार किया.
The South Pole region holds mysteries waiting to be unraveled. India's Chandrayaan-3 aims to analyze the lunar surface and deepen human understanding of the moon's geology.
हमारे वैज्ञानिकों के परिश्रम और प्रतिभा से भारत चंद्रमा के उस दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर पहुंचा है जहां आज तक दुनिया का कोई भी देश नहीं पहुंच सका. अब आज के बाद से चांद से जुड़े मिथक बदल जाएंगे, कथानक भी बदल जाएंगे और नई पीढ़ी के लिए कहावतें भी बदल जाएगी. भारत में तो हम सभी लोग धरती को मां कहते हैं और चांद को मामा बुलाते हैं. कभी कहा जाता था चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं. चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं. अब एक दिन वो भी आएगा जब बच्चे कहा करेंगे चंदा मामा बस एक टूर के हैं.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the people behind this mission. The project director of Chandrayaan-3, he is here. Vikram, congratulations to you. The associate project director, Kalpana, and the mission operations director, Srikanth. And the satellite was built at your house satellite center, Shankar and the director.
An incredible journey of the human race, propelled by India's scientists and engineers, armed with unwavering dedication and boundless curiosity.
I cannot tell you the type of that excitement that is created in the whole of India. Every school child, every school, every village, every mohalla is excited by the showcasing of this landing videos and broadcast. And all of them are praying, having lot of pujas and homas and other methods of prayers suitable for each one of them. for the success of this mission. And I want to thank each one of you for your excitement, your love for the nation, and for whatever we achieved today. It's all dedicated to yourself and for your courage and strength to support us. And we'll be able to continue with the experiments, including the Pragyan rover coming out and then doing all the experiments. So we are looking for very, very exciting 14 days from now for Chandrayaan-3.
Not just the mission, but a huge leap for humanity's understanding of our cosmic neighbor. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me to talk about this historic moment live on the news track, Dr. Amitabh Ghosh, former NASA scientist, one of my favorite commentators over the last several days. Raj Chingappa, Group Editorial Director, Publishing at the India Today Group, India's top science journalist. With us is Mayank Wahiya, astronomer, former professor, Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. With me in the studio, the young Manish Purohit, former Isro scientist and space educator. Welcome, Manish, and a very special guest, Professor Somak Ray Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor at Ashoka University and a top astrophysicist. I want to go across to Amitabh Ghosh first. You've been a key part of the India Today lunar journey. We didn't go anywhere close to the moon, but with all these graphics, the animations, the enthusiasm was quite there, and we felt like we were part of the lunar journey. You know, the Indian scientists were very, very confident. You were confident and yet being careful, saying that keep open the prospect of something going wrong. The fact that this isn't 100% till it's actually happened. Give your sense of, you know, this moment, what it means for India and India's place in the global space community.
Right. So where can I start? So I have been part of many missions. So your thing shows Mars Exploration Rover mission. No, it's also Curiosity. It's also Mars Pathfinder, Spirit, Opportunity, Mars Phoenix Lander. And the reason that you said, you know, I have been cautious because the last moments, you don't know what will happen. I have been in that control room, and there are times that, you know, it has ended in laughter, and there has been times it has not. So you know, here the defining point was, so you remember the commentary. It says what is the velocity and what is the altitude, and then it says, well, 800 meters and the velocity is this. So when you're within that envelope, that safe envelope. So if it was 800 meters and it is still going at 100 miles an hour, it's kind of a problem. So when you're in that safe envelope, then you're finally safe. And that is when I could actually relax. And that is when, you know, I breathed a sigh of relief. And so, you know, and the experience is such, you know, this is not about the media. This is about a journey as a scientist. I can feel for the scientists who are there because I was there. So that is when there were tears in my eyes. And, you know, it was such an overwhelming moment. And the other thing which I would point out, you know, India came into this. I went to the US in '93. India did not have a space program then. 2004, 2005, that's when we launched. In 20 years, India has 2 planets, 3 orbiters, 1 lander, 1 rover, not a mean feat. So it's a very big deal. So we have to put it in context of history. So you know, these things were kind of a dream in '90s. See, the reason I went abroad, there was no space program in 1993, kind of planetary science program. But now you have, I mean, the people who are going to school today can think that, well, maybe they're going to work on data from the Vikram lander and the Pragyan rover, right? So that's a huge deal.
Where does this mission and its success place India in the global space hierarchy, if there were one? So, because we're the 4th country to have pulled off a successful landing on the moon, this time on the South Pole, does that then, by some accounts, make India the 4th major space power, or you think that wouldn't be correct?
See, I think that would be correct because, okay, NASA has had human missions, which are like kind of much more massive missions. The launch vehicle is 30 times larger, so it's much more complex. Russia has very complex missions. China, I think, had 5 or 6 missions. So they first landed, then they went to the other side of the moon, then they brought samples back, then they survived the lunar line. So I think it would be rightful to summarize what you said. India is very much the fourth power, but you have to understand many people have failed. The Israelis have failed. These are not really, these are very strong technical teams. Israelis have failed. The Japanese private mission also failed. So it's absolutely, you should look at it in the context.
In the past, Russia has achieved more, but at this moment, given Russia's internal condition, given India's trajectory and our current position, would India be where would India compare with Russia? Are we close to beating Russia, virtually there, or have we already done that?
So here is the drill. If you don't practice it, you lose it. The reason Elon Musk is developing the Starship now is because American capability with the Saturn V launch vehicle, they did not maintain it. Same here, the Russia did not maintain its capability. See, capability is not something permanent. You might be able to do something, but well, if you don't practice it, you're gone. So here, I would not jump to that conclusion, but you can say an Indian mission is more reliable at this point. If there was bookies out there who bet on a mission, then the Indian mission probably they would bet more favorably.
You're more American now, but I can feel the Desi Ghosh come out in all of what you're saying. So, Jai Hind, and that's fantastic. Somak Ray Chaudhary, what this moment means, Professor Ghosh calling this, a moment where India virtually becomes the third major space power, maybe, just getting a little ahead of the Russians, or at least definitely the fourth. Your sense of what this means in the arc of India's space odyssey?
Well, I mean, I agree with Dr. Ghosh in a way, because but then India came into this major missions, taking astronomers seriously and looking at astronomical missions. Actually, in the second half of the 90s, where the first AstroSat meetings were held when Dr. Kasturirangan was the chairman. I remember being in them where that was 96, 97, something like that. AstroSat was finally launched, a conglomeration of 5 telescopes together on the same platform 20 years later in 2015. So, but then that's been in the making since then. But now this is timed perfectly with the opening up of the space industry to private players. And it's no coincidence that the Indian space industry is now also opening up to private players, because if you look at the global space market now, it is almost a $500 billion industry. And if you're talking of India being in the top 4 or 5 superpowers in space, even 3, we don't even, we're not a player in even, 4 or 5% of this global space industry. And that is because it is Isro who has run India's space industry, and industry has, the real private industry has actually supported Isro. Now, with the new policy, space policy, with Isro opening up and promising to mentor startups and major companies coming into the space industry, this means that there is intent to become a player in the global space race. And this, as that industry grows, this means that Indian entrepreneurs and Indian industry in general outside the government organizations are now going to play an important role.
Professor Ray Chaudhary, do you want to spend a moment describing the significance of the experiments that will be carried out by the Pragyan over the next 14 days and what we hope to achieve, and why what we're about to find out could potentially, if everything goes well in a few hours from now when the Pragyan actually comes out of the rover, why this could be breaking new scientific ground?
I mean, I think very, very importantly, I mean, we have to, of course, look at the motivation for the science that we want to get out of it. We're studying not just the composition of the soil and the rock and what's under the rock, but also looking at the composition of the the air, the little bit of air that's near the surface of the moon, as well as the plasma part of that. Now, the larger picture is there are twofold. One is pure science. We want to know how the Earth-Moon system formed. Earth and Moon formed at the same time, along with the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. And when the Earth and the Moon formed, they were in fluid state and they separated and then made of the same material. And they became mixed in a very different way. So you can find things on the moon which should be in the Earth as well, but because they might not be on the surface. And so we can learn a lot about the Earth by studying the moon. So, and also by studying the formation of the moon and where it's come now. It hasn't been protected by a big atmosphere and a magnetic field like the Earth has. We can also figure out some things about the future of the Earth. So there are amazingly deep scientific thoughts behind the design of these experiments. And why are we getting interested now? Because 50 years ago, when the original moon missions went, there was no way we could do these things. Technology was very, very backwards. Think of what computers looked like then. Think of how much information you could send back from instruments that would be there. So now we are in a state.
You mentioned technology, which is fascinating because it became a live broadcast moment where you're seeing these images. You're not seeing dots on a black screen. You're virtually being able to see the Chandrayaan land before your eyes. That's the magic of all the images they've been sending back. Explain to our viewers how that's made possible, Professor.
Well, that's it. Now, that's because everything is digitized now. I mean, think of digital cameras of this sort does not exist in the early 70s when the original missions went. And so now and also the amount of data that can be sent in a second or a minute back to Earth was much, much smaller. So you could not send high resolution pictures or spectra back. The digital telemetry was very different. And now we can do that. And then so by doing that, the other big thing that has happened, and that is we have opened up this kind of science and technology to the general public. Can you imagine the man on the street now?
Okay, here it is, the first image sent by the Vikram after landing on the moon. I want to just put that out on the screen. I want to get Manish Purohit to describe it as well for us. Just the first picture that's been sent by the Vikram from the moon. Manish, what do you see? How is this different from, and Raj, you can also jump in. As you see this, I see craters, and that's fascinating as well. But this is, I suppose, when they say first image from the moon, this is after landing, post-landing first image. Because we saw something which kind of looked similar when the rover was on the way down and orbiting.
This looks like when we were in the descent phase, because the terrain doesn't look that close up. The lunar terrain doesn't look that close up.
Okay. Because they've just put out this post saying because the communication link is established between Chandrayaan-3 lander and MOX
Mission Control
Bengaluru. Yeah. And here are the images from the lander horizontal velocity camera taken during the descent.
Yes.
Explain that.
Okay, so these are the images.
What is a horizontal velocity camera?
Oh, that's a brilliant technology. That's a brilliant technology. Let's take this platform and just assume this is the lander approaching. So
just show him in a window, please. Just 1 second. We'll just get you into a box. Okay,
so,
there you are.
Can I get up there?
Yeah, I don't know if your mic allows you to get up, but just, you can stand. You can stand. Okay, I love the enthusiasm. This is a scientist saying, okay, let me do a live demo. Just give us a moment, we'll have to adjust the cameras, okay? Somebody just needs to run up and adjust the camera. Okay, now go for it.
Yeah, so this is our lander. Horizontal velocity camera means a camera that has to calculate velocity. A camera has to calculate velocity. Now, how we are going to do that? So we are going to click images and then we are going to measure the pixels. We know the duration, the time we know the movement, and we know our altitude.
We made this camera?
Yeah, this is ours. Yeah, everything is ours. Chandrayaan-3, everything is ours.
All of it?
All of it.
Nothing is important?
Only one NASA payload is there, that is for the measuring the distance of the moon from the Earth, and that they have been putting in through Apollo also, Apollo missions. So this is how they do. They are clicking images, So these are the images, and you can see there's a gradual move in the images. And these were the images we were getting during the live descent phase. So craters will be moving, so we will be measuring, it's very simple, like put it in a very simple way. These blocks we see, I focus on this one, and when I'm moving, I'll see this block was appearing at this particular location. When I move forward, it moves by a few pixels. I'm measuring those pixels, and I'm going to, get the information calculated.
Why is that such a big deal?
It's a big deal because I'm doing it with the pixels. Because it's a camera. The images, I'm using the images and the pixels from the images to get the information about the velocity, horizontal velocity when I'm moving there.
You need to understand when it is, after all, it is moving at 6,000 kilometers per hour. That's 6 times the speed of sound, or 5
Will
to 6
this camera
times.
have any
so what
applications
happens is,
on Earth?
No, you need to have a reference point.
And
And you need to calculate the speed. And you know that. Apart from this particular camera that is there, there's also a laser Doppler velocity meter. So
what does that do?
That is they've actually introduced it the first time in Chandrayaan-3, because last time when the camera was sending back information, there was a time lag, and when the thrust was more than what it was supposed to be, they couldn't detect it or noticed it at too late a stage, and that's what caused the error. So what they've done is built in multiplicity of redundancy. So apart from this camera giving you the velocity, at what speed is the speed being killed? Because you're killing it from 6,000 kilometers down to 1,000 kilometers per hour in the first phase that you're doing. So it requires some bearing. So apart from this, there's a laser Doppler radar, which sends a velocity meter, not a radar, which sends down signals, immediately picks back, and actually three-dimensional. So it's able to not only calculate the speed, but the position and everything else. So that's why they operated with the kind of confidence they had. But coming back to this picture, as I think Michael rightly put it, that it is probably coming at the descent phase. If you're seeing, I don't think you'll get clear pictures.
These are 4 separate pictures.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get clear pictures of the landing space for maybe a couple of hours till the dust settles down.
Yeah.
Others will all be clouded around that spacecraft.
And it's electrostatically charged. So
it'll take a little time.
I think you may think of this as a stupid question, but it's important. Like when the Pragyan is out, if everything goes well and it's then on the moon, is it able to broadcast images live?
Pragyan will give it to our Vikram. Pragyan can't communicate to us in the ground stations or to the orbiter.
Okay.
It will be communicating with the lander.
It sends images.
It is having camera. It is having data. It is doing in situ experiments. That data has to come for the scientific community.
No, I'm talking about like, will there be a live, when the Pragyan is just driving around,
so,
will we see that live?
Yeah, we will be getting images. We will be getting images from Pragyan. The images will be communicated to Vikram. Vikram will be giving it back on ground stations.
Yeah, we are directly communicating with the lander.
Vikram sends it directly to the ground, or what's the role of Chandrayaan-2 in this?
See, Chandrayaan-3 has a lander, which is, the propulsion guy is now orbiting the Earth. Right? That it is doing its own little experiment, which they've done. But unlike Chandrayaan-2, which is a proper orbiter, because of Chandrayaan-2, you were able to map this kind of surface accurately for your landing. That's the great advantage that we had with Chandrayaan-2 there, which meant that you didn't need an orbiter. So what they've done is that they are now communicating directly with Vikram, the lander. And when the rover moves down, the rover communicates with Vikram and then sends back whatever information that it needs to send back to mission control in Bangalore. So the way it works is you're directly linked. Mission control is directly linked with the lander. And the lander then communicates to rover.
And sorry, again another silly question, but important question. How big are those craters? Like those craters that you see, there are 4 separate images there. In terms of referencing this to the Earth, how big do those craters look? Is there a way of knowing?
For that, we need to know what was the height when they were taken. But the southern polar region craters are big. The biggest one...
When you mean big, like how big is big?
Big is like it is 12 kilometers deep. The southern...
crater.
The crater on the south.
So what if the Pragyan goes into one of those craters?
Oh, no, we are not going that far. We are going in the southern polar region. We are not going to the southern pole of the moon. We are going in that region. It's like, if this is the southern pole, we are somewhere here. Yeah. That's 70 degrees.
But it's a very good question you ask, because what happens that's one of the great difficulties of landing a craft, and that's why people didn't do it in the past. Most of the Americans, Chinese, and everybody landed at the equator, where the sun is shining all the time and they can see it. What happens at the South Pole area is that you cannot assess how deep that is, because the shadows You see, this could look like a valley, it could look like a mountain, it could look like
you
anything
can't make
else.
out that thing,
So
right?
what happens is that that's the reason why.
No, but how big is big? Like in those images, you can't tell right now.
It could be a diamond. See, after all, the moon is being bombarded or had been bombarded by meteorites long back. Those created the
count
craters.
goes in lakhs.
Of craters.
Craters.
Yes, it's just pitted
Southern
like
pole,
that.
see, actually, they don't have the atmosphere to save the moon from those impacts. Our atmosphere burns them during the journey.
So slows them down.
Burns.
Yeah,
Our atmosphere, it burns them
Except
out.
one or two which came through.
Yeah,
And
just few. But here, why the possibility of water is there? Because meteorites, they can directly reach the surface.
Yeah.
And the meteorites, they bring the water. So the water on the moon, it's believed that it was brought by the meteorites.
Of course, the freezing temperatures that exist there that then cooled it. But very interestingly, Rahul, all the moon dust is actually meteorite dust. What happens is because of the high impact, you don't...
When you say dust, you mean dust like in
it's
terms
called
of
regolith,
how
right?
we see
It's
dust.
lava and this kind of material. So
And
it's very, very light material, right? And it floats up
Because because there is no atmosphere, it gets electrostatically charged.
And
it has to...
I'm joined on this broadcast right now from Germany, live and exclusive by Ramesh Chellathuraj, ground operations engineer at the Europe Space Operations Center, ESOC. He's joining us from Darmstadt in Germany. Ramesh, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time sitting where you are at the European Space Operations Center. What do you make of what India and Isro have just pulled off this evening on the surface of the moon?
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure to work with Isro and colleagues from Isro since the last 2.5 years, more than 2.5 years. And I'm very, very happy and glad that we were able to make this as a success. And it's not only from me personally, but I have a whole bunch of team members who are from different parts of Europe, Norway, Sweden, France, Italy, Germany, Spain. So all these people have worked together in getting to this point. And we were very, very happy and relieved that the ending was a successful one. And I take this opportunity to thank all the Isro colleagues with whom we have been working for so long. And I wish them the very, very best, and to India as well.
Where does this go in terms of collaboration between ESOC, between Isro, NASA, the Germans, the Israelis, the Japanese, in coming together and trying to do as a collective, as humankind, more than what we could have done as nations?
Yes, it's a very good question. I mean, we do have geopolitical situations happening every now and then, which we cannot avoid. So, however, as engineers, we are given a task to take up, say, okay, we need to launch this satellite with this agency. And we are complete in doing or getting our tasks done on time. Now, for any application which are nationally restricted, or in other words, if we are talking about a satellite application which is valid for only one country, it could be either India or Spain or Germany, France, then most of the things are accounted for and the National Space Agency will take care of those requirements and meeting them. But if we are about to talk about external objects like moon or go into the dark universe, observe other planets and so on, in my personal opinion, a very strong collaboration between the space agencies could be put in place. And of course, because of the geopolitical reasons, these collaborations could change now and then, again, which we cannot avoid. But given the scope, I think there should be a lot of cooperation among the agencies in setting up long-term goals.
Ramesh Chellathuraj, for joining us from the European Space Operations Center. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. It's great also, Manish, to see how the rest of the world is cheering India. This is a time when the Indian Prime Minister is at the BRICS Summit. all these space agencies in different parts of the country putting out congratulatory messages must be making you feel very proud as a scientist?
Yeah, actually, you know, it gives a very good business plan also. You have a very good head start when you are going for a new space policy and you are going to, you know, you are aiming for taming the global space economy. So it gives you a very good head start that right now, see, this is the deliverables that we can offer. This is the confidence that we have. We already told the world that we are 100% confident about the soft landing part. So Somnath sir has, you know, he was saying it that what may ever happen, our systems are so solid and they have been tested so well on the ground that we are going to have very safe soft landing, and then we have delivered that. And if you were following that trajectory part, it was just the copybook thing. It was like we never went a single pixel away in that trajectory. It was every pinpoint to the point where we were supposed to be. When we were supposed to be at 800 meters and we were supposed to be hovering, we were there. So, you know, if you see India as a collaborative space program in the beginning, we started like that. We started our journey with the help of USA, with Soviets, French were helping us. So everyone was helping us to find our ground.
Have we left them behind, you think, the French and some of the European powers, or where do they stand?
Not really. No. Not really. You see, what happened, he's right. In the initial phases, we did take the help when we were building satellites, as well as even the Vikas engine.
Where do they compare with us right now?
Oh, they are streets ahead, but where we have...
The French?
Because they're part of the European Space Agency. We used to use their spacecraft, Ariane, lifter launcher for a long time to put our INSAT satellites over there because we didn't have the launch capability. Over a period of time, we have developed indigenous capability to do that. Now, what has happened is ISRO has a niche. And what is that niche? The niche is our ability to make low-cost launchers as well as satellites. There's a huge need for that. So what happens is the big boys in the space so far, whether it's the Americans, earlier the Soviets, now Russia, as well as European Space Agency, they used to make these giant sort of launchers as well as put multiple very heavy satellites that were there. But a lot of countries wanted smaller satellites like we use for telecom or for navigation or for remote sensing. ISRO's specialization is its ability, as you said earlier in the program, to build these things. Even the Chandrayaan-3 estimated to cost 615 crores. Something like this done elsewhere would be three times the cost.
Somak Rai Chaudhary, speak for a moment about the lunar economy, the space economy, and the kind of competitive advantages in terms of reliability and in terms of cost efficiencies that the Indian space program offers the world.
Well, I mean, people often don't realize that, you know, you can go from the Earth to the Moon in many different ways. And you saw how we did this. It took much longer than other missions, and it went in an elliptical orbit that expanded around the Earth, then moved over to the Moon and contracted, etc. All that was part of the economy of the project. It was also a very elaborate process in which safety was ensured in many places. So it's a safe method as well as a very, very economic method. So this was one way of showing that we can do it in a different way. And certainly there are economies in the system in India because of the labor and materials, etc. as well. And in the end, we made this happen at a cost that's less than a Bollywood, one of the expensive Bollywood movies. So this shows the world. Again, I was talking about how India aspires to be a major player in the global economy, the space economy, that is, and to show that we can build things that are successful as well as cheap and economic is wonderful, because that is a boost to not just the industry, Indian industry, but the technological innovations that have gone into them to make this in an economic way of doing things. Now, this also means that this is not a monolithic mission. It's made up of very, very different parts. Even the landing you saw had 4 or 5 very different things mixed in it. And any one of them could be useful in other missions that other countries or other private agencies want to adopt. And so the modules, the economy of the modules, the design of these modules were also seen by the world in this case. And so this is one way of advertising the way India can do this. And then one also sees in this, we saw this in a big way, the people behind the mission. And you can see that the number of people who are involved in this, the way the broadcasts were made, you could see these people coming together as a group and working together. This kind of aspect of Indian science and technology, even the common people haven't seen how science works, how teamwork works. And this also shows the world that there are teams that can work in this way to make
Manish,
these
tell
very,
those
very...
who are watching at this time about the other projects at ISRO which are in the pipeline, near fruition, which we should be looking out for in the months and years to come.
So in the months to come, in the days to come, we have Aditya L1. We are going to go 15 lakh kilometers away from the Earth towards the Sun. We are going to study the Sun. We are going to get to a point that it will take us around 120 days of journey. We will reach a point called Lagrange 1 point, which is 15 lakh kilometers away from the Earth. There we will be going around in a hollow orbit, studying the Sun. So it's a very, very big mission from India's part. Apart from that, on 31st of August, this 31st, we are going to test a few segments of our Gaganyaan module. So these are the things that are happening right now. Apart from that, we have already, on the privatization part, the space policy part, we have already started the technology transfer for our launch vehicles and satellite designs. That initial stages have been taken steps. You know why all this thing is important? Because we are regarded as a frugal space agency which achieves big. And that's a big promise that we put on the table when we talk to the people around. Our PSLV, it came very late to us. The first successful flight was in 1990s. Before that, we were dependent even for 1000 kg class satellite to other people, other spacefarers who were providing their launch vehicles. But then gradually the LEO, low Earth orbit market is huge, and our PSLV and our launch vehicle Mark III, they have huge capabilities that we can capture that particular segment of the industry, and that is where the most of the whole, the whole effort is right now in the low Earth orbit thing.
Okay, I want to show you two images on your screen right now. The first really about where things started from and where things have reached now. In the beginning, that's the rocket in the very initial days, a very small pool of scientists, barely any funding. This is, how it started under the leadership of Vikram Sarabhai, the Isro rocket there being carried, and now with the GSLV and the landing of the Chandrayaan on the surface of the moon. Fascinating images, Raj, about where we started off from in terms of just how basic things were at that time to where things have reached now.
Well, Rahul, I've been privileged to go through all that. I've actually watched a lot of these launches, starting from the ASLV program, PSLV, GSLV, seeing how the rockets went, seeing how the satellites are built. And I think that's the strength of ISRO. What it has done is it's come up the hard way. It has decided that it would master all these technologies, believe in self-reliance. Others were not willing to sell it. They could share the technology too, but not really transfer it fully. And so ISRO has, over a period of time, and very importantly, since the lander is named after Vikram Sarabhai believed to do all this was not just the boys having fun. He believed that space was a vital component of development of India. So everything that the Indian Space Research Organization did, the mission and the vision that was there, was to support India's development. So if you look at what does that translate to? One is in terms of remote sensing satellites. So if you have to map all the minerals, including crops, you build a satellite for that. India's doing that. Telecommunications, which all of us are using. India built those satellites. You take a look at, remote sensing and navigation satellites. We've been doing all that. Military requirements, we're doing that. So India's space program is not a white elephant kind of a program. It is rooted deeply in India's development. And what we are seeing now is the next big step, the big leap that we're looking at when we're doing interplanetary space explorations like Mangalyaan, or even doing the moon mission, and now aiming further for the sun.
Because it's so special and so powerful, I want to call those two images back on the screen again. The first one is the ISRO preparing for the launch of its first ever launch vehicle, the SLV-3. which is total of 22 meters long, all solid, 4-stage vehicle weighing 17 tons. And it's being carried over there in individual parts, rockets being carried for assembly.
And if I'm not mistaken, possibly, I don't see, but APJ Abdul Kalam was around at that time. He was project director of SLV-3, and they really did it frugally. I mean, it was an incredible effort.
How are we so much cheaper than the rest of the world?
Because that's how it runs into the blood. See, when we started, the very first thing, the very first constraint that we had was about the resources. So when you have that kind of a beginning, so it was like we knew that we have to deliver big. Our inset, if we break that down, it was, it is written there that inset technology is like 4 big technologies of communication satellite, geosatellite, and observation satellites clubbed into a single one. That's how they have kept in mind that when you have a limitation on the budget, then you are not doing it that we want to be very cheap, we want to be the one who can do it in the smallest possible price. No, it's just like our approach is that way. Most of the things we do indigenously, and most of the things when we are doing it, so we believe in that part that, okay, we don't have to go big on our budgets, that we don't need to be, if you want to be successful, you don't have to be very big on the budgets, because that's how our beginning has been.
And I'd just like to add what Mayank said, because I've observed these scientists, and that's why I think we need to laud them. They worked in conditions and salaries and houses, which, were really very, very, let's say, frugal. And I do remember, they used to put long hours. You would see these scientists voluntarily coming and spending the night to build these systems. And if you walked into any of these places, as I have done, any of the laboratories, they're state of the art. You could be proud of that. And the way they've worked at that cutting edge technology, satellite technology, I mean, we are up there with the best. Launch vehicles, yes, we've got one of the heaviest ones, but of course we do need to build, as Dr. Rajan said earlier in this program, much more bigger and heavier lift vehicles if we have to sort of match the big boys.
As I wrap up just this part of the broadcast, Manish, what should people expect next? This Pragyan coming out, how many hours would it be till the dust settles and the Pragyan rover comes out?
That part right now expected to be, it can run from few hours to 6-7 hours. Totally depends on how quickly the...
So the night is young. The moon is out, the night is young.
And the best part about it is when it will be going out, that moment will be captured. It will be shown us back on Earth. Pragyan coming out and going on its way, it will be captured.
Getting a red carpet welcome. What do you get on the moon?
Well, in this case, regular carpet.
Or a dusty welcome. A dusty welcome.
A charged one.
Yeah,
electrically charged.
Hopefully the dust would have settled and the Pragyan would come out to the moon.
I think it has the Indian flag on it.
Yeah, and the wheels have national emblem and Isro's
so
logo.
does just coming back to that controversy, or going back to Neil Armstrong, will the flag flutter or it'll just stay?
I mean, this has long since been decided.
No, there's no air on moon.
So it'll just flop, it'll just be like the flag.
All those wrinkles.
Unless you blow it.
See, gravity is also not that strong, so it had a latch system. So if you see the wrinkles and all that thing, quite possible given the environment.
If you want a little bit of I actually interviewed Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk after Neil Armstrong, and I asked him how does it feel to be on the moon? What does it feel like? And he said, one, the sun really shines brightly over there because there is no atmosphere to block the sun. Second, your shadow behind is pretty long and it has a halo. So you feel like a saint out there when you're doing it.
Fascinating. So what we're going to do is slip into a very quick break right now. Our coverage, of course, non-stop, continuing coverage of the Chandrayaan. And as I said, the moon is out, the night is young, and the Pragyan will be stepping out. No one knows for sure when, but Isro will announce, and we will track the next step in this historic journey of the Chandrayaan landing on the moon. Thank you and bye from me. Rashdeep Sardesai comes up next. Stay with us.
ये दिन इस बात का प्रतीक है कि हार से सबक लेकर जीत कैसे हासिल की जाती है। सारा जहां देख लिया, कहीं भी तेरे जैसा कोई नहीं है। This success belongs to all of humanity.
And all the team that contributed to building Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 should be remembered and thanked while we celebrate Chandrayaan-3.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम
And I want to thank you also for each and everyone who prayed with us in the last many days.
I am confident that all countries in the world are capable of achieving such feats. We can all aspire for the moon and beyond.
कदमों की आहटें। कल के सपने पूरे करो आज, रहो एक कदम आगे तमिलनाडु मर्केंटाइल बैंक के साथ।
What really should be your alternatives to white refined sugar, which clearly is something that you must avoid? Let's talk about what you can use instead of this white sugar. Number one, organic brown sugar. Organic, then all the very better, because this is extremely healthy. Now what it does essentially is that this is processed, but it is made in the most natural way to retain most of sugarcane's nutrition, and that's the reason why this should be an alternative. Coconut or palm sugar, again extremely healthy sources of sugar, which are alternatives as well, extracted from the flower buds of the coconut palm tree. The sugar has a mild caramel taste and can be used in a number of ways in your delicacies, also for daily consumption. Date sugar, extremely nutritious natural sweetener. Date sugar can be a great addition to your diet. This also is a good alternative. Jaggery or gur, as we know it, has got a world of benefits in terms of what it does to your body. Essentially, a lot of people have spoken about the fact that during pollution, you should be consuming a lot of gur. It's a great alternative to sugar. Also, the fact that it is rich in iron is really an added benefit and added advantage. Raw or unprocessed honey. This too is a great alternative. You can use it in various forms like you use white refined sugar. It tastes extremely good as well.